Chapter 24-29. He wasn't surprised at all, because Longao had already guessed this result. It seemed that his 9-revolution chaos mantra had a lot to do with this mysterious force. The pain was almost unbearable, but Longao still gritted his teeth because he had to figure out what was going on with this mysterious force. Screams of pain and agony were heard. Longao couldn't hold on any longer. He didn't know why, but when this mysterious force came into contact with the 9-revolution chaos mantra, it was simply a devastating blow. He heaved a sigh of relief. In just a few minutes, Longao couldn't sense what was going on with this mysterious force. At this moment, Longao was simply depressed to the extreme. It was impossible to rely on this mysterious force to break through to the starry sky immortal realm. In this case, there was no point in continuing to stay here. If it was someone else, they would have left long ago. Only Longao. The more it was like this, the more Longao wouldn't give up so easily, because he was very clear that this mysterious force must have something to do with him. Otherwise, anyone could use this mysterious force to break through to the next realm. Only he couldn't use this mysterious force to break through. Instead, it would hinder his cultivation. What was going on? Longao still tried to operate the 9-revolution chaos mantra in his body. He had to solve this matter. He wouldn't give up until he solved this matter. As long as he operated the 9-revolution chaos mantra in his body, he would feel a splitting headache, as if his head was about to explode. After tossing and turning for a whole day and night, he still hadn't come up with anything. Longao sat on the ground helplessly, sensing the mysterious aura around him. He knew that this mysterious aura must be related to his 9-revolution chaos mantra, but he couldn't detect it at all. He couldn't go on like this. He had to solve this matter as soon as possible. Did he have to find the source of power? Longao was very depressed because he knew that he couldn't even touch the remnant mysterious force, let alone the source of power. According to this situation, Longao could almost say that even if he found the source of power, he couldn't touch it at all. If he touched it by force, the result could be imagined. At that time, it wouldn't be the so-called splitting headache. Even so, Longao was determined to find the source of this power. His intuition told him that this mysterious source of power might be able to bring him many things that he couldn't explain before. The key to finding the source of power was the 9-revolution chaos mantra. However, the 9 revolutions chaos mantra could not be forcefully circulated. He had no other choice. Longao took out the chaos stone tablet, chaos seal, and chaos axe. He tested them one by one to see if these 3 items could make contact with the mysterious power. The attributeless primal chaos stone tablet was declared a failure. Between the primal chaos seal and the primal chaos axe, Longao chose the primal chaos axe. The only thing left was the primal chaos seal. If it continued to fail, then there was truly no other way. Longao tried to activate the seal of primal chaos. Until now, he had not truly grasped the seal of primal chaos. It was because of this that he did not know if the seal of primal chaos could help him. He wouldn't know if he didn't try, but he was shocked when he tried. In just a few seconds, Longao was pleasantly surprised. He realized that this mysterious power didn't reject the primal chaos seal. If that was the case, he could use the primal chaos seal to probe and see what was going on with this mysterious power. The primal chaos seal started to devour this mysterious power. Longao didn't know if this was a good or bad thing because this mysterious power would hinder his cultivation. If the primal chaos seal backfired on him in the future, what would he do? After thinking about it, Longao decided to continue. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The primal chaos seal's speed of devouring was extremely fast. Longao couldn't interfere at all. However, he had to finish devouring before Yulong returned. Otherwise, if Yulong found out about this, it would be troublesome. That was the case. Longao was extremely depressed because he couldn't control the primal chaos seal. Therefore, even he didn't know when the primal chaos seal would finish devouring. He wouldn't sit and wait for death. Longao wanted to take the initiative in everything. He immediately released the power of his essence spirit and slowly entered the primal chaos seal. Longao couldn't be sure that even with the help of the primal chaos seal, he wouldn't be in the same situation as before. What if the mysterious power backfired on him and he continued to have a splitting headache? If he acted rashly, he might be doomed eternally. However, even so, Longao still insisted on taking action because this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. After the primal chaos seal had completely devoured the mysterious power, he wouldn't be able to control the primal chaos seal, and he would never be able to figure out what was going on with the mysterious power. As the power of his essence spirit slowly seeped into the primal chaos seal, Longao could clearly sense how strong this mysterious power was. This was forcefully suppressed by the primal chaos seal. If it was another starry sky divine weapon, it might not be able to suppress this mysterious power. There wasn't any backfire, and Longao was pleasantly surprised. The power of his essence spirit didn't dare to get close to the mysterious power because until now, Longao wasn't sure if he would be backfired on if he came into contact with this mysterious power. He would observe for a while. In the blink of an eye, a day had passed and Longao still didn't take action casually. I have to give it a try. Gritting his teeth, Longao finally decided to take action because he knew very well that if this continued, who knew what would happen? The longer he delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for him. Although he and Yulong were considered friends, no one could be sure about this. If Yulong discovered his secret, he might take action against him. It was better to have one more friend than one more enemy. Thinking of this, Longao finally took action to test the mysterious power. He wanted to see why this mysterious power was hindering his cultivation. Originally, Longao was very uneasy because he wasn't sure if his essence spirit would backfire on him if it came into contact with this mysterious power. He didn't know if he didn't touch it, but he was pleasantly surprised when he did. This was because when Longao's essence spirit touched the mysterious power, he thought that it would backfire on him. He didn't expect that this mysterious power wouldn't backfire on him. Instead, it felt close to him. What did this mean? Longao was a little confused and dumbfounded. It definitely wasn't because of him, but because of the primal chaos seal. Could it be that the primal chaos seal was related to the 9 revolution primal chaos mantra? If that was the case, he must have taken a detour previously. However, it wasn't too late. Chapter 24:30. Touching the mysterious power inside the primal chaos seal didn't cause any backlash. Longao tried his best to sense the mysterious power inside the primal chaos seal, but he still didn't find anything. In the blink of an eye, 3 months later, Yulong returned and saw Longao sitting quietly in the cave dwelling cultivating. He was about to speak with a smile when his face suddenly froze. His face was filled with disbelief. The mysterious power is so thin? Longao opened his eyes and said with a smile, I don't know what happened. It would be strange if Longao didn't know, because 90% of the mysterious power here had been devoured by the primal chaos seal. If Longao hadn't stopped it in time, the mysterious power here would have been completely devoured. Devoured cleanly. Yulong wouldn't believe that Longao would devour the mysterious power here even if he was beaten to death. He shrugged helplessly and said, with the help of the mysterious power here, my cultivation base has smoothly broken through the limit of the starry sky immortal realm. Otherwise, I would have suffered a great loss this time. Longao didn't tell Yulong the secret. Some things were better kept secret. Yulong, the mysterious power here is about to disappear. There's not much use for us to stay here. How about we start looking for the source of power now? I've been looking for it for countless years, but there's no clue at all. It would be a lie to say that he didn't want to find the source of power. Just by relying on the mysterious power in the cave, his cultivation base had smoothly broken through the limit of the starry sky immortal realm. If he could find the source of power, he might be able to break through to the half-step starry sky dominator realm. However, the premise was that he had to find the source of power smoothly. It sounded simple, but it was difficult to do. For countless years, many people had entered this mysterious plane. Among them were starry sky legends, starry sky immortals, and even limit starry sky immortals. However, no matter who it was, they couldn't find the source of power. How could Longao not know what Yulong meant? In fact, even Longao didn't have the slightest confidence. However, since the primal chaos seal could devour the mysterious power, he might be able to find the source of power with the help of the Primal Chaos Seal. He didn't tell Yulong about the Primal Chaos Seal. Yulong, you won't know if you don't try. Yulong wasn't a fool. Although the other party didn't say it explicitly, he could vaguely sense something fishy in Longao's words. Could it be that Longao really had a way to find the source of power? If that was the case, then it would be great. Yulong couldn't wait to find the source of his power. In that case, let's give it a try. Longao and Yulong immediately left the cave and began to search for the source of power. Brother Long, tell me the truth. Do you have a way to lock onto the source of power? Yulong was just guessing. Since so many people could not find him, it was impossible that Longao did not know about this. Since that was the case, there was no need for Longao to waste time. The only explanation was that Longao might really be able to lock onto the source of power. If that was the case, it would be great. His cultivation base had successfully broken through the starry sky immortal realm. Now, Yulong only had one wish, and that was to break through to the half-step starry sky dominator realm. If he cultivated normally, who knew how long it would take, and he might not even have the slightest hope. Now, there was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Brother Yulong, to be honest, I'm not completely confident. I'm just trying. Try. Even if there was only a slight chance, Yulong was not willing to give up. Gangmu, Yichong. Gangmu? Yichong? Longao was very curious, but he could clearly sense that the two people in the distance were genuine peak starry sky immortal realm experts. Were they Yulong's enemies? As if he could guess Longao's doubts, Yulong said, Brother Long, in this plane, I have two greatest enemies. One is Gangmu, and the other is Yichong. We have fought for countless years, but in the end, there are only two of them. At this point, Yulong did not continue, but the meaning of his words was very clear. Longao was not a fool. Of course, he understood what Yulong meant. Yulong, Gangmu, and Yichong were all peak starry sky immortal realm experts. If it was one-on-one, Yulong would not be afraid of anyone. However, if it was one against two, Yulong would definitely not be their match. Long time no see, Yulong. It seems that your strength has improved again. Just as Longao and Yulong were about to leave, Gangmu and Yichong came over. Both of them had a mocking look on their faces as they spoke in disdain. The two completely ignored Longao, because in their eyes, Longao was just a starry sky legend. With their strength, killing a starry sky legend was like stepping on an ant. Yulong's face was very gloomy. He said coldly, You two better get out of my way. Don't provoke me. Yo. Our genius Yulong is actually angry. Let's see what kind of angry Yulong will be. Gangmu and Yichong released terrifying murderous intent. The three of them were like fire and water. Yulong had been hiding for so many years, so the two did not have a chance to attack. Now that they finally had the chance, they would be fools if they let it go. Whether it was Longao or Yulong, both of them were very clear about their intentions. Yulong's face was very gloomy and ugly, because in his opinion, once the three of them fought, Longao would certainly not be able to help him. Fighting one against two, he was certainly not a match for Gangmu and Yichong. This situation was very unfavorable for the two of them. Run? If he chose to run away at this time, it would be a complete disgrace. Yulong would definitely not do such a shameful thing unless it was a last resort. How could Longao not know what Yulong meant? Longao sneered and said, Brother Yulong, these two dogs are quarreling too much here. Let's. Longao made a Kachab gesture. His meaning was very clear. He wanted to kill the two of them, not to mention Gangmu and Yichong. Even Yulong was extremely shocked, because he never thought that Longao would be so arrogant. If Longao had the qualifications to be arrogant, then it would be fine. The problem was that Longao was just a starry sky legend, and there was still a long way to go before he reached the peak starry sky immortal realm. Starry Sky Legend and Peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm were not at the same level. The difference in strength between the two was too big, not to mention 2 against 1. Even one of them could easily deal with Longao. Chapter 24:31. Hearing Longao's words, both Gangmu and Yichong started laughing crazily. It was as if they had heard the funniest thing in the world. A little star realm legend dared to be so arrogant. He was simply courting death. You Long, you're really hopeless. You think you can defeat us with this trash beside you? Gang Mu and Yi Chong definitely didn't put Longao in their eyes. It would be abnormal if they cared about Longao. Yu Long, however, smiled. Although he didn't trust Longao, things had already come to this. He could only take one step at a time. At most, he would fight. As for life and death, he couldn't care less. Gang Mu, Yi Chong, cut the crap. Fight if you want. Fight if you want? Seeing how fearless and confident Yu Long was, the two of them were instantly curious. The more Yu Long and Longao acted like this, the more uncertain they were. Could it be that they had something to rely on? Their expressions changed again. All of a sudden, Gang Mu smiled and said, Yu Long, you don't have to lie here. Let's see how you're going to resist our combined strength. Gang Mu and Yi Chong took a step forward at the same time, both emitting powerful killing intent. Two peak star realm immortal realm auras fiercely pressed down. Regardless of whether it was Longao or Yu Long, they didn't retreat in the slightest. Not only did they not retreat in the slightest, but they also pressed on step by step. If you take one step forward, we'll take 2 steps forward. Let's see who's more ruthless. The two were confused by Yu Long's words. Could it be that Yu Long and this mysterious youth were really that confident? Not only did they not retreat, but they pressed on. If they fought and something went wrong, wouldn't it be a loss? What should they do? Now, the two were in a dilemma. If they continued, they were worried that Yu Long and Yi Chong had something to rely on. If they didn't continue, they would lose all their face if they chose to retreat. Gritting their teeth. Finally, whether it was Gang Mu or Yi Chong, they chose to continue. At their level of cultivation, sometimes face was more important than life, especially when facing Yu Long. He would never back down. Before the two of them could say anything, the Chaos Axe appeared in Longao's hand, and he swung it at the two of them. Longao took the initiative to attack. Gongmu and Yi Chong, as well as Yu Long, were dumbfounded when they saw the mysterious young man taking the initiative to attack. None of them had expected that a star sky legend would take the initiative to attack. Could it be that this person was really that confident? It was a bit ridiculous. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would have found it hard to believe. A small space legend actually dared to fight against 2 pinnacle space undying, and even took the initiative to attack. Is this true? Brother Long, don't be rash. Yu Long was completely terrified. He had never imagined that Longao would choose to take the initiative to attack. He had fought with Gang Mu and Yi Chong for so many years, so he knew their strength very well. Not to mention Longao. Even he himself was no match for the two of them. Yu Long even thought that Longao would definitely die if he forced his way in. However, it was too late to stop them now. The two of them laughed loudly, not showing any mercy at all. Since they dared to provoke them, they would let them know the consequences of provoking them. But what was the result? After Longao swung the Chaos Axe madly, the three of them were completely shocked, because the space around the two of them began to be filled with black air. This was the space crack. Not only that, the space crack was forcibly compressed. What was going on? Is this for real? The three of them couldn't believe it because they knew very well what it meant to be able to shatter the space and compress the space crack. Whether it was them, the half-step space dominators, or the 12 space dominators, they had never heard of anyone who could do this. Even though they had seen it with their own eyes, they still couldn't believe it. For so many years, the three of them had stayed in this plane. They knew almost nothing about what had happened in the past 20 years, and they didn't know anything about Longao. Otherwise, they wouldn't have underestimated Longao. To be able to shatter the space and compress the space crack, Longao was the #1 person in the vast starry sky. Even the 12 space dominators couldn't do it, but Longao had done it. If they encountered a starry sky immortal expert, it was really unknown whether they could resist Longao's starry sky mastery. However, the strength of a peak starry sky immortal expert was too strong. The two of them were so fast that after a brief shock, they steadily evaded the space crack's compression. The two of them looked very unsightly, but more than that, they were shocked. Who the hell are you? Even if the two of them were fools, They had already guessed that the other party's identity was not simple. They couldn't believe that a puny starry sky legend could do this. No wonder Yulong was so confident. The two of them knew very well that the other party was just a starry sky legend. If the other party could break through the starry sky immortal realm, or even the peak starry sky immortal realm, and use this move again, would the two of them be able to escape? It was really unknown. Anyway, the two of them didn't have the slightest bit of confidence. You're not qualified to know who I am. I'll give you two a choice now. If you choose to surrender, you won't die. Otherwise. Longao didn't continue, but the meaning in his words was very clear. Both the two of them and Yulong understood it very well. If it had been a moment ago, Gongmu and Yicheng wouldn't have taken Longao seriously. Chapter 24:32. Without any hesitation, the two turned around and left quickly. Brother Long, since you're confident in killing them, why didn't you eliminate them completely? Yulong couldn't figure it out because he didn't know why Longao let the two of them go. Letting the tiger return to the mountain would cause endless trouble in the future. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the two of them, yet Longao chose to give it up. Longao shrugged helplessly and said helplessly, Brother Long, if I had full confidence, do you think I would let them go? No? Yulong wasn't a fool. Of course, he understood what Longao meant. If that was the case, he finally understood what Longao meant. He felt helpless. Brother Long, to tell you the truth, I accidentally obtained this divine ability back then. Perhaps I can be undefeated against people of the same level, but it's almost impossible to kill people of a higher level. Longao was being modest. Because according to Longao's current cultivation, once he used Starry Sky control, even the so-called Starry Sky Immortals might not be a match for Longao. As for peak Starry Sky Immortals, Longao was indeed no match for them. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done it. Whether it was the three Starry Sky Eagles of the first Starry Sky Empire or Lin Han and Wang Tao of the second Starry Sky Empire, how could they still be alive? Yulong didn't have the slightest doubt. However, Yulong knew very well that Longao's strength was definitely not simple, especially the previous move. Not only could it shatter the starry sky, but it could also compress space cracks. This divine ability alone wasn't something that anyone could master. Not to mention ordinary starry sky cultivators, even the 12 starry sky rulers might not be able to do this. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed it even if he was beaten to death. It was a little too shocking. Yulong didn't ask about the origin of this divine ability, nor did he ask how Longao obtained this divine ability. This was because Yulong knew very well that if Longao wanted to say something, he didn't need to ask. He believed that Longao would say it himself. If Longao didn't want to say anything, then even if he asked, it would be nonsense. Brother Long, let's continue. All right. Just as the two of them left, Gongmu and Yicheng, who had already left, suddenly appeared. Their faces were very gloomy and unsightly. What do you think? This person isn't simple. I believe you know better than me what that spirit ability means. If we can get that spirit ability, we won't have to worry about 9 half-step starry sky rulers. The two of them were very clear about what it meant to shatter the starry skies and compress the cracks in the starry skies. The strongest aspect of the 9 half-step starry sky rulers was not their personal strength, but their 9 great secret realms. As long as the 9 secret realms existed, the 9 half-step starry sky rulers would be in an invincible position. He was determined to obtain this ability. Even if we want this ability, this person might not give it to us. If we can't kill this person, won't we go for wool and come home shorn? He was very worried. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't afraid. In any case, they had just experienced the opponent's spirit ability. If they hadn't been fast enough and broken through to the starry sky immortal realm, they would have died by now. Now that they thought about it, they still felt scared. However, under the absolute temptation, the two of them would not give up. They were determined to get this spirit ability. No need to talk nonsense. Now we just need to think about what we should do. According to my guess, although this person has a heaven-defying spirit ability, his personal strength is not enough. Otherwise, they wouldn't have let us go just now. Yicheng nodded in agreement. He had also thought about this point. Because no matter who encountered this person, He believed that they would eliminate the source of trouble instead of letting the tiger return to the mountain. It would be a lie to say that there was nothing fishy about this. In that case, we just need to find the right opportunity to act. I don't believe we will fail. All right, let's do as you say. Since things had already come to this, they could only do so. Just like this, the two of them did not choose to give up. Instead, they continued to follow. It was worth mentioning that the two of them were not only strong, but also very good at hiding their auras, because even Longao did not notice them following them. Whether it was Longao or Yulong, both of them agreed that since the two of them had fled in fear, under normal circumstances, they would not continue to follow unless their brains were damaged. But the result? Longao held the primal chaos seal in his hand and kept sensing this mysterious power. Relying on his own strength and Yulong's help, they could not find this mysterious power. Now, they could only rely on the primal chaos seal in his hand. As for Yulong, of course, he knew that Longao had a starry sky divine tool. He could also guess that Longao had such great confidence because of this starry sky divine tool. As for whether they could succeed or not, it would still depend on luck. The greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. Because of this, Yulong did not have much hope and did not ask any questions. Strictly speaking, the current Yulong was like Longao's bodyguard. Nothing happened? Longao was extremely depressed. Previously in the cave abode, he had clearly used the primal chaos seal to devour this mysterious power. He thought that he could use the power of the primal chaos seal to find the source of this mysterious power. But now, Longao tried to infuse the power of his primordial spirit into the primal chaos seal, but he was shocked to find that the mysterious power that he had devoured previously had disappeared without a trace. What was going on? He was completely dumbfounded because Longao had already guessed that this mysterious power should have been completely refined and integrated after being devoured by the primal chaos seal. In other words, he was too late. However, the speed at which the primal chaos seal refined the mysterious power seemed to be a little too fast. Brother Long, what's wrong? Gradually, Yulong also realized that something was wrong because Longao's expression was becoming more and more serious. Could it be that there was trouble in finding the source of this mysterious power? If that was the case, Yulong would definitely be anxious because he had been searching for so many years without any results. Now that there was even the slightest chance, he was not willing to give up. Longao nodded and said, "Brother Yulong, I believe you already know that I am so confident because I want to rely on this starry sky divine tool. Previously, my starry sky divine tool devoured a trace of the mysterious power, but I did not expect this mysterious power to disappear. Now, even I have no choice but to devour another trace of the mysterious power. Next, we have to find the source of this mysterious power as soon as possible." Chapter 24:33. Yulong roughly understood Longao's meaning. He was very surprised, because Yulong never expected that Longao's starry sky divine tool could devour a little mysterious power. No wonder Longao was so confident that he could find the source of the mysterious power. Yulong certainly did not hesitate. The two left and returned to the original cave. "Brother Long, what kind of starry sky divine tool is this?" He could not help but be curious. It would be fine if it was something else, but the source of the mysterious power was something he could not hold back. To be honest, this is a starry sky divine tool that I accidentally obtained. After so many years, I haven't really mastered it. As for this starry sky divine tool's ability to devour a little mysterious power, I just found out. So that was it. He wanted to say something but stopped. "Brother Yulong, what do you want to say?" Longao was not a fool. Looking at Yulong's expression, he knew that Yulong must have something to say. Yulong still looked like he wanted to say something but stopped. There were several times when he wanted to say something, but he looked embarrassed. What did this mean? Yulong wanted to say something but stopped. Longao didn't know what he meant, but since Yulong didn't say anything, he didn't continue to ask. "Brother Long, why don't you give this starry sky divine tool to me? I can agree to any of your conditions." Hand over the primal chaos seal? It was impossible. Longao had the primal chaos axe, the primal chaos palace, the Primal Chaos Seal, and the non-attributed Primal Chaos Stone Tablet. Although he had not really mastered the Primal Chaos Seal, Longao was almost certain that this Starry Sky Divine tool was very powerful, especially since the Primal Chaos Seal could devour the mysterious power. Although Longao did not open his heart to Yulong, he did treat Yulong as a friend. Because of this, he did not expect that Yulong would make such a request. His face instantly darkened. Before Longao could speak, Yulong said, "Brother Long, don't misunderstand." Did he misunderstand? Anyone would misunderstand this matter. If they did not misunderstand, they would not be human. Longao's expression turned extremely unsightly. He said coldly, "Brother Yulong, it seems that you did it on purpose for me to treat you as a friend." Yulong could clearly sense the murderous aura emanating from the man. Of course, he knew that his conditions were a bit excessive, but in order to obtain the mysterious power and break through to the half-step Starry Sky Ruler realm, he had no choice. He sighed deeply. "Brother Long, to tell you the truth," Longao didn't say anything. He just stood there quietly. "After so many years, although I've used the mysterious power here to break through again and again and reach the limit of the Starry Sky Immortal Realm, if I want to continue to improve, I'll have to get a Primal Chaos Tablet or a Secret Realm, but it's almost impossible." Longao remained silent. Of course, he understood what Yulong meant. Without a doubt, whether it was the 9 great secret realms, or the 12 Chaos Stone Tablets, or even the 12 Chaos Stone Tablets he had obtained, it was almost impossible for others to obtain them. Since then, apart from those who obtained Primal Chaos Stone Tablets and Secret Realms, no one else could become a half-step Cosmic Ruler or Cosmic Ruler. But did it have anything to do with him? It didn't seem to have anything to do with him. "I'm very unwilling. If I can get Brother Long's divine tool and find the source of its power, I'll have a chance to break through to the half-step Cosmic Ruler realm." Humph. Without waiting for Yulong to finish his words, Longao had already heavily snorted coldly, his face full of unhappiness. "Yulong, don't you think you're going overboard? I've always treated you as a friend. I've told you before that as long as I can find the source of power, I'll let you devour as much of the mysterious power as possible. Yet, you want to take my divine artifact for yourself?" Murderous intent surged. Longao was most annoyed by people like this. He treated him sincerely but provoked this kind of person again and again. Even if the other party was a limit Starry Sky Immortal, Longao wasn't afraid. At most, he would fight because he was full of confidence. Even if he couldn't beat Yulong, he could escape unscathed. Yulong sighed deeply again and said helplessly, "Brother Long, you misunderstood. I don't mean to steal your divine weapon. I believe you should know that even if we find the source of power, I can't continue to break through to half-step Starry Sky Ruler by devouring the mysterious power." "Does it have anything to do with me?" "Yes," Yulong continued. "Since the Starry Sky divine weapon in your hand can devour a small amount of mysterious energy, it must be extraordinary. I hope to use this Starry Sky divine weapon." He waved his hand. Before Yulong finished speaking, Longao said, "That's impossible. If you want to steal it by force, I'll accompany you to the end." There was no fear. If it were anyone else, they wouldn't dare to do this to a limit Starry Sky Immortal. It would be suicide. However, Longao wasn't afraid at all. Not to mention a limit Starry Sky Immortal, he wouldn't even be afraid of a Cosmic Ruler. Yulong didn't have the slightest intention to attack. He said bitterly, "Brother Long, you misunderstood me. If you have any difficulties, just tell me. Why do you have to be like this?" In fact, Longao had already guessed that Yulong must have other difficulties. He couldn't just want to break through to the next realm. His intuition was very accurate. Yulong was a good person. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made friends with him and told him that the Primal Chaos Seal could devour mysterious power. "Brother Long, if I'm not wrong, you should already know my identity." Longao nodded. Since things had already come to this, he didn't continue to pretend. He told the truth. "Yes, according to my guess, you're not a human. You're a space divine beast. Moreover, you're from the mysterious and powerful Space Dragon clan." In the vast starry sky, there were countless divine dragons. However, countless divine dragons had a race, and the countless divine dragon races were collectively known as the Starry Sky Dragon Clan. Longao had already guessed that the wandering dragon in front of him was not only a Starry Sky divine dragon, but also from the upper echelons of the Dragon Clan. Yulong nodded and said, "Yes, I'm not only from the Dragon Clan, but also from the most powerful peak Dragon Clan. Moreover, I'm the Dragon Emperor of the Dragon Clan. When my father was killed and I inherited the throne, I fled everywhere. If I can break through to the half-step Starry Sky Immortal Realm, I can go back and take revenge. Otherwise, I won't have the chance to take back the Dragon Clan in this lifetime." What? He was completely shocked. Longao had never thought that Yulong was from the Peak Dragon Clan and the Dragon Emperor of the Dragon Clan. Chapter 24:34. Pinnacle Dragon Clan. Longao knew very well what Pinnacle Dragon Clan meant. In the vast starry sky, there were countless dragon clans. Among all the dragon clans, there was the largest dragon clan, known as the Pinnacle Dragon Clan. Longao never expected Yulong to be the Dragon Emperor of the Pinnacle Dragon Clan. However, he was very curious and asked, "Brother Yulong, since your cultivation base has broken through the Peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm, I guess your enemy is at most a Peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm. Don't you have the slightest confidence?" Longao was very clear about this point. In the entire Pinnacle Dragon Clan, having two Peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm experts was already very impressive. One was Yulong, and the other was Yulong's enemy. If that was the case, as long as Yulong killed this person, he could easily take back the Pinnacle Dragon Clan that belonged to him. In that case, why did Yulong have to wait until his cultivation base broke through to the half-step Starry Sky Dominator realm? But one had to know. There was only one way for a Peak Starry Sky Immortal to break through to the half-step Starry Sky Dominator realm, and that was to devour secret realms. In the entire vast Starry Sky, there were only 9 secret realms, corresponding to 9 half-step Starry Sky Dominators. It was almost impossible for Yulong to break through to the half-step Starry Sky Dominator realm, taking 10,000 steps back. Even if Yulong could find the source of power and devour it, the chances of him successfully breaking through to the half-step Starry Sky Dominator realm were too low. Speaking of this, Yulong felt extremely helpless. Sighing deeply, Yulong said helplessly, "Brother Long, to be honest, my enemy is my second uncle. He's not only a Peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm expert, but also has the supreme treasure of our Pinnacle Dragon Clan. Therefore, I'm not his opponent unless my cultivation base breaks through to the half-step Starry Sky Dominator realm." So that was it. Yulong, forgive me for being blunt, but even if you devour the source of power, you may not be able to break through to the half-step Starry Sky Dominator realm. I believe you should know that there are only 9 secret realms in the vast Starry Sky, and there are already 9 half-step Starry Sky Dominators. How could Yulong not know this? However, there was no other way to kill his second uncle and take back the Pinnacle Dragon Clan that belonged to him. I don't want to let even the slightest chance. He shrugged his shoulders helplessly. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. What a joke. No matter what happened, he would never hand over the seal of primal chaos. Seemingly having guessed this outcome, Yulong was not angry at all. Instead, he heaved a sigh of relief and said with a smile, "Brother Long, I was confused just now." "Me too." He waved his hand. Stopping Yulong from continuing, Longao smiled and said, "Friend, there's no need to say more." Longao knew what Yulong was thinking. It seemed like he was blinded by hatred. Otherwise, Yulong wouldn't be like this. If he still blamed Yulong for this, then he would be too unkind. Yulong felt very guilty, but he really couldn't explain it in this situation. Inside the cave, Longao held the primal chaos seal in his hand and tried to continue devouring the mysterious power. In the same situation as before, the seal of chaos had already begun to devour the remaining mysterious energy in the surroundings in just a few seconds. He thought that as long as he was fast enough, he would be able to succeed. But what was the result? Longao was completely dumbfounded. He had never expected that the mysterious energy that had been devoured by the primal chaos seal would be refined by the primal chaos seal as soon as it entered. What was going on? The speed at which the primal chaos seal refined the mysterious energy seemed to be a little too fast. It was so fast that Longao was a little helpless. "Brother Long, what's wrong?" Yulong was very curious. He didn't know what was going on with Longao, but at this moment, Longao's face was solemn. "Brother Yulong, I believe you already know the power of this starry sky divine weapon. I originally thought that as long as this starry sky divine weapon devoured the mysterious energy and we were fast enough, we could use the starry sky divine weapon to find the source of the energy." Yulong didn't say anything because his intuition told him that this matter must be troublesome. Otherwise, Longao wouldn't be like this. What kind of trouble could it be? Yulong didn't ask because he knew that since Longao had already said it, he definitely wouldn't hide anything. "Just now, I tried to send the power of primordial spirit into the starry sky divine weapon, but I helplessly discovered that the starry sky divine weapon was refining the mysterious energy too fast." At this point, Longao didn't continue, but the meaning of his words was very clear. Yulong also felt helpless and didn't say anything more. "Brother Yulong, I have to think about what to do next. I'll wait for you outside. Call me if you need anything." Yulong was very tactful because he knew that Longao definitely wanted to be alone at this moment. After Yulong left the cave, Longao immediately sent the power of primordial spirit into the primal chaos seal to see what was going on. Why was the primal chaos seal refining the mysterious energy so fast? He wouldn't have known if he hadn't sensed it, but he was shocked when he sensed it. This was because Longao could clearly sense that the primal chaos seal was like a bottomless pit. No matter how much mysterious energy it devoured, it wouldn't be enough. Anyway, it would start to merge after refining. Longao didn't know whether it was good or bad, but since things had already come to this, he could only let the primal chaos seal devour the mysterious energy and merge it. A few hours later, "Brother Long, is there still no way?" Nodding his head, Longao said helplessly, "I've already said that I can't control this starry sky divine weapon. As for what's inside, I have no idea. However, the only thing we can do now is to keep looking for places like this so that my starry sky divine weapon can devour the mysterious energy. Maybe then, there's still a chance." Since things had already come to this, even Longao didn't have a good solution. Yulong also knew that if there was a way, Longao wouldn't hide it from him. "Okay, I know a few places. Although the mysterious energy is weak, it should work." "Okay." The two of them did not hesitate at all as they did not want to waste any time. The place that Yulong mentioned was actually occupied by others. However, Yulong's strength was there for all to see. After the two of them arrived at the place, no one dared to stay any longer and immediately chose to leave. Every time Longao arrived at a place, he would immediately use the primal chaos seal to devour the mysterious energy. However, no matter how much mysterious energy the primal chaos seal devoured, it was still a bottomless pit. If this continued, who knew how much mysterious energy it would need to devour? Unless it devoured the source of the mysterious energy. Chapter 24:35. Longao was depressed to the extreme. In just a few days, they had already gone to several places. And the result? Not a single place could successfully resist the primal chaos seal's refinement. As for the reason, even Longao did not know. If this continued, it would not help him at all. What should he do? No matter how much mysterious power the primal chaos seal devoured, it would be refined immediately without giving Longao any chance. After listening to Longao's words, Yulong was also depressed to the extreme. He shrugged helplessly. After a deep sigh, Yulong said helplessly, "Brother Long, forgive me for being blunt, but if we continue like this, when will it end?" How could Longao not know what Yulong meant? Apart from this method, I have a better way to find the source of power. Longao wanted the source of power more than Yulong because he had an intuition that if he could get the source of power, he might be able to break through to the Starry Sky Immortal Realm, or even the limit of the Starry Sky Immortal Realm. A breakthrough in realm was not a big deal. Longao only cared about one thing, the 9 Revolution Primal Chaos Mantra. Since the 9 Revolution Primal Chaos Mantra broke through to the 6th Revolution, it was completely impossible to continue to break through. Longao did not know when he could break through to the 7th revolution, let alone the 8th or 9th revolution. However, the mysterious power interfered with the 9-revolution primal chaos mantra, giving Longao a slight chance. If he could get the source of power and use it to break through to the 7th revolution, the 9-revolution primal chaos mantra would not be able to break through. Longao's request was not high. He only hoped that his 9-revolution primal chaos mantra would break through to the 7th revolution. Longao knew very well what the 9-revolution primal chaos mantra meant. The 6th revolution alone had given birth to such a heaven-defying ability, like controlling the starry sky. It was hard to imagine what kind of heaven-defying ability it would give birth to if he could break through to the 7th revolution. He was looking forward to it. Yulong and Longao were both very helpless because both of them knew very well in their hearts that if this situation continued, who knew when they would be able to find the source of power? 1 year? 10,000 years? 100 million years? 1 trillion years? The longer they delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for them. Because there could be variables at any time, no one could be sure that no one else had found the source of power. Did he have to use the 9-revolution chaos mantra by force? Longao knew that if he forcefully used the 9-revolution primal chaos mantra, the chances of finding the source of power were very high. But could he? Longao's expression was ugly. Forcefully using the 9-revolution chaos mantra would only result in one result, and that was a splitting headache or even fainting. It would have been fine if he had found the source of his power before he fainted. What he was afraid of was that he would faint before he could find the source of his power. What should he do? For a moment, Longao was in a dilemma. In fact, in Longao's heart, he was still a little worried about Yulong. Although they were already friends, one could never judge a book by its cover. Especially when it came to the source of power, no one knew what Yulong was thinking. It was better to be safe than sorry. If Yulong decided to attack him because of the source of his power, he wouldn't be able to fight back since he was already unconscious. At that time, he would be meat on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. In the end, Longao chose to give up in the end because he didn't want to fall into a hopeless situation because of looking for the source of power. On a huge mountain, at the peak of the mountain, Longao and Yulong stood against the wind, both of their expressions ugly. Brother Yulong, you've been in this plane for so many years. Do you know how big this plane is? This was the most important thing, because Longao knew very well that if the mysterious plane wasn't boundless, with Yulong's strength, he should have been able to search every place after so many years. Under such circumstances, it was impossible that Yulong and the rest couldn't find the source of power. It was a little ridiculous. Longao also knew that Yulong was definitely not lying to him. Otherwise, why would Yulong and the rest still stay here? This was really strange. How could Yulong not know what Longao meant? Speaking of this, Yulong looked helpless and said helplessly, Brother Long, I'm not afraid of you laughing at me. Originally, with my strength, it's easy to detect the size of a plane. However, after so many years, I've never found out how big this plane is. Not to mention others, even I don't want to believe it. I see. Longao wasn't surprised at all because he had sensed the size of this plane many times. It was exactly the same as Yulong's. Even with his strength, he couldn't sense the size of this mysterious plane. Is this true? If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed it even if he was beaten to death because both he and Yulong were strong. Not to mention this plane, they could even sense the size of the first plane where the first Starry Sky Empire was located. Brother Yulong, do you know the reason? Brother Long, I know what you mean. After so many years of thinking, if I'm not mistaken, this plane should be formed by the combination of countless planes. It's just that we can't find out at all. Strictly speaking, not to mention us, even the 9 half-step Starry Sky Dominators and the 12 Starry Sky Dominators can't sense where the source of power is. Hearing Yulong's words, Longao was completely stunned, because ever since he stepped into the vast starry sky, he seemed to have never heard of such a thing. Layers upon layers of planes, countless planes formed a brand new plane. It was simply unheard of. It was a bit too shocking. Longao didn't doubt Yulong's words at all. Apart from this, He really couldn't think of any other reason why he, Yulong, and the others couldn't sense the specific location of the source of power. If this was really the case, things would be really troublesome because they didn't know where the source of power was. The biggest problem was how to go to another plane under the layers of planes. Brother Yulong, have you figured out the superposition of planes? Shaking his head, Yulong said helplessly, No, I've been sensing this plane for so many years, but I still haven't found anything. If we can figure out what's going on with this plane, maybe we can find the source of power. Can you figure out what's going on with this plane? Countless planes were stacked on top of one another. It was superposition and fusion, but no one knew whether it was superposition or fusion. Whether it was Longao or Yulong, they couldn't figure out what this plane was. This was what shocked them the most. At the same time, they didn't know how this plane was formed. It was a little inconceivable. Only Longao was left at the top of the mountain. He sat alone at the top of the mountain, letting the breeze blow past him. As for Yulong, he continued to explore the secrets of this plane. According to Yulong, he would take at most 3 years. After 3 years, if he still couldn't find the source of power, he would choose to leave this place. Longao was deeply aware of Yulong's helplessness. Deep hatred. Yulong had waited for countless years, and he really couldn't wait any longer. If it were him, would he have waited for so many years? Longao knew very well that if Yulong still couldn't find the source of power after 3 years, once he left and his cultivation couldn't break through to the half-step starry sky dominator realm, he would most likely seek revenge directly. In terms of strength, it was really unknown who was stronger between Yulong and his second uncle. However, Yulong had already said that his second uncle had a supreme treasure of the Peak Dragon clan. With this starry sky divine weapon, he could completely suppress him. He didn't continue to dwell on this issue. There were too many variables in 3 years. No one knew what would happen after 3 years. If he could find the source of power within these 3 years, he might really be able to help Yulong break through to the half-step starry sky dominator realm. The gap between the peak starry sky immortal realm and the half-step starry sky dominator realm was too big. The two weren't on the same level at all. It could be said that a half-step starry sky dominator could kill a peak starry sky immortal realm expert in a matter of minutes. This was the real reason why Yulong spent countless years trying to break through. Only then could he have full confidence. Standing up and clenching his fists, Longao looked at the endless void in the distance. I will definitely find the source of power, not only for Yulong, but also for himself. Because the source of power was closely related to his 9-revolution primal chaos mantra, he had to find the source of power no matter what. Longao was still standing at the top of the mountain, directly releasing the terrifying power of his primordial spirit. His cultivation base had smoothly broken through to the starry sky legend realm. Longao's primordial spirit was already very powerful, and for some reason, his primordial spirit power was far above ordinary people. It could be said that Longao's primordial spirit was now comparable to a peak starry sky immortal realm expert. What kind of concept was this? In other words, a peak starry sky immortal realm expert could only dream of suppressing Longao with his primordial spirit. In the vast starry sky, it seemed that only Longao alone could achieve this. Longao's primordial spirit covered a wide range. He knew very well that under normal circumstances, his primordial spirit power would have already covered the entire plane. But now, it was boundless. No matter how much primordial spirit power Longao released, he still couldn't touch the boundary. If this continued, even if he tired himself to death, he believed that he still wouldn't be able to cover the entire plane. Yulong's senses and guesses were completely correct. There was only one explanation for this situation, and that was that this plane was a combination of countless planes. Otherwise, it would be impossible to achieve this. It was hard to imagine how many planes could be superimposed to such an extent that even his powerful primordial spirit couldn't cover it. It was simply unbelievable. Even so, Longao didn't choose to give up. He continued to release his primordial spirit. He wanted to see how big this plane was and how many planes were superimposed. This way, he could better grasp what to do next. After releasing his primordial spirit for dozens of minutes, Longao gradually stopped. Chapter 24:37. Time flew by like a shuttle. 2 years passed in the blink of an eye. In these 2 years, neither Longao nor Yulong succeeded in finding the source of power. There was only 1 year left. Yulong had made up his mind. No matter what, he would leave if he couldn't find the source of power in the remaining 1 year. This was because Yulong knew very well that if this situation continued, it would be useless even if he continued to stay. Instead of wasting time, it was better to leave this place as soon as possible and think of other ways to take revenge. In the meantime, Yicheng and Gangmu had troubled the two of them several times, but they didn't dare to attack them by force. They only attacked them secretly. In these 2 years, the two of them had attacked them countless times, but none of them succeeded. What did this mean? It would be a lie to say that they weren't frustrated. At the top of the mountain, Yulong, to be honest, I'm practicing a special cultivation technique. As long as I force it, I'll have a splitting headache and even faint. What did this mean? I forgot to tell you that there's no problem if I force it. As long as I do it, this mysterious force will automatically erode me. I see. Yulong was completely shocked because he never thought that there was such a thing. If Longao hadn't told him, he wouldn't have believed it. No wonder Longao could sense this mysterious force. No wonder Longao could devour the mysterious force with the help of the Star God weapon. No wonder Longao didn't want to give up for 2 years. He clearly knew that it would not work, yet he still insisted on staying. It turned out that Longao had a lot of confidence, and the key lay in this cultivation method and the Starry Sky Divine tool in his hand. Brother Long, what do you mean? Yulong couldn't understand. Since Brother Long had such a secret, why didn't he tell him earlier and waste 2 years? After all, the two of them knew very well that they wouldn't be able to find the source of power in 2 years. Brother Yulong, I've already made myself very clear. Although I know that the martial technique I'm practicing is related to the mysterious power, I will immediately faint if I try to force myself to use this martial technique. I see. Yulong wasn't a fool. He immediately understood what Longao meant. Faint. If he fainted under special circumstances, then he would be fine. If he fainted here, no one knew what would happen. Even if he died, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. No wonder Longao was unwilling to use this method casually. Not to mention Longao, even if it was him, he would have made the same choice. No one was willing to put themselves in danger. Brother Long, I know what you mean. One may know a person for a long time without understanding their true nature. Although he and Longao were already friends, there was no need for Longao to trust him. Without the slightest doubt, Yulong immediately swore a blood oath in order to make Longao believe in him and to find the source of his power as soon as possible. That was exactly what Longao meant. It wasn't that he didn't trust Yulong, but it was a matter of life and death. It was better to be careful. Brother Yulong, you have to remember not to mess up my position after I faint. Otherwise, we'll have to start all over again. Don't worry, Brother Long. I'll keep this in mind. This time, Longao was prepared to use the 9 Revolution Primal Chaos mantra by force. He wouldn't give up until he found the source of his power. Because he had wasted 2 years, it wasn't a good idea to continue like this. If it was any other thing, Longao would have definitely chosen to give up. He wouldn't joke about his own life. Even if it wasn't for himself, he had to think about his family and children. However, the situation was completely different now. The mysterious power was related to the 9 Revolution Primal Chaos mantra. No matter what happened, he had to figure it out and see what was going on. He rested for a few days to make preparations. This time, he was forced to use the 9 Revolution Chaos formula. It was completely different from the previous times. This time, he had to persevere. Otherwise, he would give up halfway every time. God knows when it would end. Brother Yulong, you have to remember one thing, and the most important thing is that you have to be careful of Yicheng and Gangmu. Both of them were peak Starry Sky Immortal experts and were hiding in the dark. Longao was almost certain that they had never left. If they reaped the benefits, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. Yulong nodded. Don't worry about this. After so many years of dealing with them, I know them very well. As long as they are close to us, I will be able to sense them. With regards to Yulong, Longao was still very assured. However, it was better to be safe than sorry, especially in this situation. He had to be even more careful. He couldn't afford to have any accidents. He took a deep breath. In the next second, Longao immediately began to use the 9-revolution primal chaos mantra in his body. In just a few seconds, an incomparable pain instantly spread to his mind, as if his mind was about to be torn apart. The pain was excruciating. Even so, Longao forced himself to endure it. Looking at Longao's painful face, Yulong could almost feel how much pain Longao was in. However, Longao was a real Starry Sky legend. With his strength, it was easy to imagine how painful it was for him to be in such pain. Yulong didn't dare to move because before using the 9-revolution primal chaos mantra, Longao had told him not to touch him under any circumstances. Let's go. Longao's speed soared to the extreme because he didn't know how long he could hold on. He just hoped to find the source of power as soon as possible. In that case, it would be a blessing in disguise. Yulong didn't say anything and directly followed him. However, to their surprise, Gongmu and Yicheng had been following them not far away. They didn't know what method they used, but Longao didn't sense their existence. Otherwise, even if you beat him to death, he wouldn't use the 9-revolution primal chaos mantra so easily. It would only bring trouble to himself. What do you think they are doing? He was very curious. He didn't know what the two were doing, especially Longao. It was very strange. However, Yicheng shook his head and said, "We spent 2 years to come up with this method that can temporarily hide from them. According to my guess, if nothing unexpected happens, the two of them should have found a way to find the source of power. We just need to keep following them." He didn't continue, but Yicheng's meaning was very clear. Gongmu nodded in agreement and said, "Okay, we'll do as you say." Chapter 24:38. Longao resisted the waves of pain coming from his mind. Persevere. If he chose to give up at this time, then everything would be in vain. He gritted his teeth and persevered. Yulong, who had been following Longao, sped up to the extreme, barely able to keep up with Longao. At this time, he discovered that Longao had too many secrets. His speed alone was unrivaled unless it was a Starry Sky ruler or a half-step Starry Sky ruler. Yulong, of course, could see Longao's pain. But although he was worried, he did not dare to show the slightest bit of concern. He did not know what was going on with Longao. If he could not help and harmed Longao, he would not even have the chance to regret it. This could not go on. Longao could still maintain a trace of consciousness, but if this continued, it would not work. But there seemed to be no other way except to use the 9-revolution chaos mantra. What should he do? If it was before, Longao would never have thought that this plane was the superposition and fusion of countless planes. But with Yulong's reminder, Longao was more careful this time. Sensing with all his heart, and with the help of the 9-revolution chaos mantra, Longao soon discovered that the countless planes were indeed superimposed, but the density was small enough that it was almost the same as a fusion. If it were not for the 9-revolution chaos mantra, he would not have been able to sense it. The secret of this plane, not to mention a peak Starry Sky immortal, even a half-step Starry Sky ruler or Starry Sky ruler might not be able to sense it. How did this plane come to be? He could not figure it out. He really could not figure it out. It was simply unimaginable. If he had not seen it with his own eyes and sensed it personally, he would not have believed it even if he was beaten to death. Under Longao's all-out sensing, he could only sense the superposition of countless planes. Wanting to separate these planes was simply a fantasy. In the end, Longao still chose to give up, gasping for breath. "Brother Long, you failed?" Nodding, Longao said helplessly, "If it was just a plane, I would definitely succeed this time. Just as you guessed, this plane is made up of countless planes stacked on top of each other. With my strength, it's impossible for me to sense them one by one." Longao had an intuition that even if his cultivation base broke through to the half-step Starry Sky ruler realm, or even the Starry Sky ruler realm, he wouldn't be able to do this. This plane was too strange. Looks like we have no hope. It was very depressing. However, Yulong did not complain at all because he knew very well that Longao had done his best. To be able to do this, Longao was already very kind. If it were anyone else, would they dare to do this? Longao had already said before that if he forcefully used his cultivation method to sense the source of power, he would probably faint immediately. If he tried to do something bad at this time, it was easy to imagine what would happen. Longao believed in himself. If it were him, even if Longao swore a blood oath, would he dare to agree to it? The answer was probably no. It was because of this that Yulong admired Longao very much. Even if you and I keep searching at this speed, we'll have to search for countless years. Thinking of this, Longao had a deep sense of helplessness because this plane contained too many planes, seemingly endless, and they did not know which plane the source of power was on. It could be said that, if they were lucky, they might be able to find it as soon as they started. If they were unlucky, not to mention 8 to 10 years, they might not be able to find it even in hundreds of millions of years. As for the problem of luck, Longao and Yulong both held an attitude of trying. Because in this case, whether it was Longao or Yulong, in fact, they did not have much confidence. Not only Yulong. Even Longao had already decided that if he could not locate the source of power within a year, there was no doubt that he would not continue to stay here and would choose to leave. It was a very painful thing. In the distance, Gongmu and Yicheng were very curious. They did not know what was going on with the two, but they were very afraid of them. Gongmu and Yicheng did not dare to act rashly. If they were unlucky, the gains would not make up for the losses. They had to find an opportunity and seize it immediately. Brother Long, what's wrong? Longao looked curious, but then he shook his head and said, something's not right. I keep feeling that someone is watching us. Impossible. Not to mention Yulong. Even Longao found it hard to believe. Not to mention a peak starry sky immortal expert. Even if 9 starry sky rulers came, it was impossible for him not to sense it. Brother Yulong, we can't rule out the possibility that someone is using a secret technique. No matter what, the vast starry sky is full of strange things. We have to be vigilant. How could Yulong not know Longao's meaning? The first thing they thought of was Gongmu and Yicheng. Apart from them, there seemed to be no one else who had nothing better to do than to follow them. If that was the case, there was no doubt that the two's purpose was obvious. If they did not kill the two, there would be endless troubles in the future. Longao and Yulong did not speak. They looked at each other and could see a hint of clues from each other's eyes. Their speed suddenly soared to the extreme. In the blink of an eye, they had disappeared without a trace. In the distance, Gongmu and Yicheng suddenly saw the two of them disappear. Gongmu and Yicheng were completely dumbfounded. Could it be that the two of them had discovered their tracks? What should we do now? Wait and see. Longao and Yulong might not have discovered us. Otherwise, they would not have acted like this. Let's just wait here quietly. Yicheng's face was very ugly. He said solemnly, if Longao and Yulong discover us, it will be very difficult for us to continue following them. We have to think of a way to deal with them. Otherwise, we will be in a very passive position in the future. Gongmu understood Yicheng's meaning. He said, although this plane is boundless, the two should not be too far away from us. As long as we are careful, we should not be discovered by them. The two did not have a good solution. Anyway, they did not have the courage to fight Longao and Yulong. They could only rely on following them and hope to find an opportunity to attack. Without any hesitation, both Gongmu and Yicheng immediately followed. They had lost track of the two in the north, south, east, and west. Gongmu and Yicheng could only rely on luck. If they were lucky, they would be able to find them. If they were unlucky, then they would only be wasting their time. However, could the two of them locate Longao and Yulong? It was definitely nonsense. After all, Yulong and Longao were now on guard. Otherwise, they would not have left suddenly and concealed their aura. In this way, even if Gongmu and Yicheng tried their best, they might not be able to locate Longao and Yulong. Chapter 2439. Inside the Nameless Cave. Brother Long, Since you can sense their aura, why don't we get rid of them completely? Yulong couldn't figure it out. They couldn't kill them with their strength alone. In that case, they might as well take advantage of this opportunity to get rid of them completely. However, Longao shook his head and said, if you don't remove the roots, there will be endless troubles in the future. Gangmu and Yicheng are following us. Other than wanting to kill us, the most important thing is to reap the benefits of the fishermen. Yulong was very clear about this. Even if that was the case, so what? After all, Gangmu and Yicheng were very strong. He couldn't figure it out. Yulong still couldn't figure out what Longao was thinking. Brother Long, I want to take advantage of this opportunity to get rid of the two of them in one fell swoop. Yulong was completely dumbfounded by Longao's words. He never thought that Longao would make such a decision. It was almost impossible. Brother Long, you should know the difference in strength between us. It's impossible for us to kill the two of them. It wasn't that Yulong wasn't confident, but it was indeed nonsense. Yulong didn't know what Longao was thinking. Where did his confidence come from? It was almost impossible. Longao smiled indifferently and said, Brother Long, if you don't want to do it, I can do it alone. Yulong was very reluctant, but for the sake of his friend, he finally nodded and said, Brother Long, since you and I are friends, we live and die together. Longao smiled. Yulong also smiled. Longao hadn't thought of a better way, but he still said to cut the weeds and remove the roots to prevent future trouble. Now that his cultivation base had successfully broken through to Star Sky Legend, Longao was full of confidence. As long as his cultivation base could smoothly break through to Star Sky Immortal Realm, then let alone the same rank, he believed he could even fight against peak Star Sky Immortal Realm experts. If his cultivation base could break through smoothly, all problems would be solved. After listening to Long Ao's explanation, Yulong pondered. Brother Long, with your talent, it shouldn't be a problem for you to break through from Universe Legend to Universe Immortal. But now, he didn't continue speaking. Yulong didn't know why Long Ao couldn't break through to the Starry Sky Immortal Realm. What was the reason? He could not figure it out. Under normal circumstances, Long Ao's talent was there, and it was not something that ordinary people could contend against. Not to mention Yulong, even Long Ao was a little curious because he had the reincarnation sacred body. Logically speaking, as long as he devoured a large amount of energy, he would be able to smoothly break through. But what was the result? For so long, he had devoured a lot of energy, but he still couldn't break through to the Starry Sky Immortal Realm. If he didn't break through, it would be impossible for him to kill Yicheng and Gangmu. If this had happened in the past, Long Ao would have been very confident. After all, in just 30 years, his cultivation had risen from the Hotian realm to the legend of the Starry Sky. This kind of cultivation speed could only be described with one word: monstrous. However, Long Ao didn't have the slightest bit of confidence right now. Due to the repeated setbacks, Long Ao had once thought that his cultivation would stop there forever. Brother Long, are you trying to break through to the Starry Sky Immortal Realm with the source of power? Yes. Long Ao wanted to find the source of power for two reasons. First, he wanted to use the 9-revolution chaos formula. Second, he hoped to use the source of power to break through to the Starry Sky Immortal Realm. Unfortunately, it was almost impossible to find the source of power now. After thinking for a while, Yulong said, Brother Long, if you trust me, you can take the risk and go back to the Pinnacle Dragon Clan with me. What do you mean? Long Ao certainly knew what the Pinnacle Dragon Clan meant. If Yulong was still the Dragon Emperor of the Pinnacle Dragon Clan, this wouldn't be a problem. But now, it was a problem. Because the Dragon Emperor of the Pinnacle Dragon Clan was not Yulong, but Yulong's second uncle, Yububi, who was also an extreme Starry Sky Immortal Realm expert and had a supreme treasure of the Pinnacle Dragon Clan. If he and Yulong went back now, it was easy to imagine what would happen. Was it worth risking their lives for nothing? As if he could guess what Long Ao was thinking, Yulong said, to be honest, the Pinnacle Dragon Clan is one of the most powerful clans in the vast Starry Sky. In addition to the supreme treasure of the Dragon Emperor, there is another secret, which is the Dragon Vein. Dragon Vein? Long Ao didn't say anything. He knew very well that the Dragon Vein must be a secret of the Pinnacle Dragon Clan. Otherwise, Yulong wouldn't have told him about it. Just as Longao had guessed, Yulong couldn't care about anything else. He said, I believe you've already guessed that the dragon vein can help anyone, including the members of the dragon clan, to break through quickly. But there is one thing, you must have a suitable physique. Otherwise, everything is nonsense. Brother Yulong, you mean you want me to go to the pinnacle dragon clan to find the dragon vein and use its power to break through to the starry sky immortal realm? Yulong nodded and said, since it has come to this, there is no need for us to talk nonsense. You help me, and I will help you. As long as you help me kill you Booby, the pinnacle dragon clan will stand by your side no matter what. Yulong's meaning was clear. No matter what happened, the pinnacle dragon clan would help Longao, even if he had to face the entire starry sky. Longao knew what Yulong meant. He would be lying if he said he wasn't tempted. After all, the pinnacle dragon clan's strength was needless to say. Even the #1 starry sky empire might not be able to compete with the pinnacle dragon clan. It was just that the pinnacle dragon clan didn't dare to act casually. If the 9 great starry sky empires joined forces, the pinnacle dragon clan wouldn't be able to resist. No matter what, Longao couldn't refuse. He nodded and said with a smile, no problem, let's go now. As for this plane, we'll come back later. That's what I was thinking. Both of them knew very well that staying here wouldn't make any difference. Rather than that, they might as well leave to deal with other matters and come back later to deal with this matter. They left right away. They didn't continue to deal with Gongmu and Yicheng. Longao had decided to wait until he broke through to the starry sky immortal realm before coming back to kill them. The two of them left the mysterious plane as quickly as they could. Before long, the two of them had vanished without a trace. Chapter 2440. There were countless races in the vast starry sky. Among the countless races, there were 6 races that dominated the vast starry sky. The 6 races were called the pinnacle. The pinnacle of the human race was represented by the 9 great starry sky empires. The pinnacle of the dragon race was the most sacred place among the starry sky dragon race. It was also the most powerful divine beast race among the starry sky divine beasts. The pinnacle of the rat race was the most powerful headquarter of the starry sky rat race. It was also the most powerful divine beast race among the starry sky divine beasts. The pinnacle of the underworld race, whether it was a human or a divine beast race, 95% of their primordial spirit would automatically enter the underworld race when they died. One could imagine how powerful the pinnacle of the underworld race was. However, the pinnacle of the underworld race was very low-key. It seemed that they rarely appeared for so many years. The pinnacle of the massacre race was a very powerful race. They specialized in killing to improve their strength, and killing seemed to be the race's greatest interest. The last one was the pinnacle of the mysterious race. The reason why they were called mysterious was that this race was too mysterious. They had only appeared a few times for countless years. However, no one dared to provoke the mysterious race, not even the 5 pinnacle races. No one knew when the pinnacle of the mysterious race appeared and where they came from. It was as if they appeared out of thin air. The headquarter of the pinnacle of the dragon race was a huge plain called the Dragon Plain. The entire Dragon Plain was heavily guarded. It was simply wishful thinking to step into it without being noticed. Until now, Longao still couldn't figure out how he and Yulong could step into the Dragon Plain. However, he didn't ask, because he knew very well that Yulong must be very confident since he dared to ask him to come. Otherwise, it would be too troublesome for Yulong. In an extremely secretive place. Brother Long, this is the headquarter of the pinnacle of the dragon race. I have a way to take you in, but it's too dangerous inside the plane. If you're not careful, you'll die. Since we're here, it's up to the heavens whether we live or die. Yulong smiled. Brother Long, your talent is needless to say. If your physique is suitable for the dragon vein, according to my guess, you can smoothly break through to the starry sky immortal realm in a few months. Brother Yulong, forgive me for being blunt. Since you were the dragon emperor of the pinnacle of the dragon race, why didn't you break through with the help of the dragon vein? Longao had never figured this out. Longao couldn't figure it out. Although the dragon vein required the dragon vein, He could almost be sure that Yulong's physique was suitable for it. He was very curious. He sighed deeply. Brother Dragon, to tell you the truth, I was relying on the dragon vein to cultivate before you booby took advantage of me. Otherwise, at this point, Yulong's face was filled with anger. Longao shrugged helplessly. Originally, the Peak Dragon race would have an additional Peak Universe Immortal, which was a very advantageous thing for the Peak Dragon race. However, for the sake of seizing the position of Dragon Emperor, he did not hesitate to kill his uncle and nephew, even sacrificing a peak starry sky undying. It was sad and lamentable. This was the cruel reality. Not in the dragon race, this kind of thing would happen no matter which race it was. It was unavoidable. He did not continue to ask. Brother Long, let's enter the dragon plane now. Long Ao nodded. As for who was right and who was wrong, he had no right to judge. However, no matter what, he and Yulong were friends. He would definitely stand on Yulong's side. Long Ao had decided that as long as there was a chance, he would not hesitate to kill Yulong's second uncle, Yububi, and help Yulong take back the Dragon Emperor and the Peak Dragon race that belonged to him. According to Yulong, every Dragon Emperor would know a secret, which was that there was a mysterious passage in this plane that could freely enter and exit the Dragon plane. This secret was only known to the Dragon Emperor, and it was passed down from generation to generation. However, due to special circumstances, the current Dragon Emperor, Yububi, did not know this secret. If not for this, Yulong would definitely not tell Longao this secret. This was the biggest secret of the Peak Dragon race. Just think about it. If other Peak Dragon races knew this secret, they could step into the Dragon plane without anyone noticing. At that time, the Peak Dragon race would be caught off guard. However, Yulong chose to believe Longao in the end. Longao saw this in his heart, but he did not say anything. Everything was in silence. At this moment, the two of them truly regarded each other as friends. This passage was very secretive. No wonder only the Dragon Emperor of the Peak Dragon race knew about it. If Yulong did not bring him here personally, he would not have found it even if he was beaten to death. It was too secretive. Longao and Yulong were extra careful because no one knew if Yububi knew about this passage. It would be fine if he did not know, but if they were unlucky and he did know about it, then things would be really troublesome. One step, one step, one step. The passage was very long. According to Yulong, the dragon plane was countless times bigger than the first plane. Although it was not the largest plane in the vast universe, it was definitely in the top 10. Longao was not surprised at all because there were too many members of the Peak Dragon race. Almost all of the powerful divine dragons in the vast universe had gathered. To him, the size of the dragon plane did not have anything to do with him. He only cared about two things. First, he hoped that he could find the dragon vein smoothly and use it to break through to the starry sky immortal realm. It would be even better if he could break through the limit of the starry sky immortal realm in one go. The second thing was to help Yulong regain his position as the Dragon Emperor. Longao knew very well that he couldn't shake the position of the 9 great starry sky empire by relying on his own strength and the strength of the empire. If he could borrow the strength of the Dragon clan, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. Regarding this matter, Longao did not hide it in the slightest and told Yulong the truth. If it was other people, they would definitely be furious because Longao's intention was to kill with a borrowed knife. However, Yulong was not angry at all. Instead, he fully supported Longao. Yulong knew very well that if Longao did not treat him as a true friend, he would not do this. This only meant that Longao treated him as a true friend. Since they were friends, there was no need to worry. Since they were friends, there was no need to help. Yulong knew very well that no one was willing to help him deal with his second uncle. After all, the strength of the Peak Dragon race was there. Going against the Peak Dragon race would be suicidal. Longao and Yulong did not say anything. They both knew very well that friends should help each other. After the previous incident, their relationship had improved. The secret passage was very long. If they went at full speed, they would definitely be able to leave very quickly. However, just in case, they still advanced step by step. Chapter 2441. We're almost there. Hearing Yulong's words, Longao was overjoyed. He finally let out a long sigh of relief. It seemed that his guess was right. Yububi did not know the secret of this passage. At the end of the passage, it was a hidden cave. It was very small and could only fit 3 people at most. Brother Long, this place is very far from the dragon vein. If we go out like this, we'll definitely be targeted by Yububi. By then, it'll be difficult for us to leave. How could Longao not know what Yulong meant? Although the dragon race plane was extremely huge, it was still the territory of the pinnacle dragon race. If they were targeted by Yububi, the consequences would be unimaginable. Brother Yulong, if we hide our auras, I believe that even Yububi and the others won't be able to locate us. Regarding this point, Longao was still very confident. Yulong looked helpless. He did not have any confidence. If he was fully confident, he would not have waited until now. He let out a deep sigh. Brother Long, you don't know. The dragon vein is listed as a forbidden area by the pinnacle dragon race. No one can enter without permission, unless it's the dragon emperor of each generation or the supreme elder. If we step into the forbidden area of the dragon vein, we'll definitely be discovered by Yububi. I see. Longao was not surprised at all. He had already guessed this. The dragon vein was such an important thing. It would be strange if the pinnacle dragon race did not guard it well. If that was the case, it would be very troublesome. No matter what, they had entered the pinnacle dragon race to break through their current realm with the help of the dragon vein and reach the starry sky immortal realm. According to Yulong, it was almost impossible to get close to the dragon vein. If that was the case, wouldn't it be a waste of time for them to enter the dragon race plane? At the thought of this, Longao's face became more and more serious. The most important thing now was to think of a way to deal with the dragon vein. Longao and Yulong looked at each other and saw a trace of helplessness in each other's eyes. Brother Long, there are divine dragons everywhere in the pinnacle dragon race. However, all of them can transform into humans. I can transform into a human and have dragon aura on me. Hence, no one can discover me. As for you. At this point, Yulong did not continue, but the meaning of his words was very clear. Longao wasn't worried at all. He smiled. Brother Yulong, don't worry about that. I have a second brother who is also a member of the Divine Dragon clan. Before he left, he already knew that this day would come, so I won't be discovered. That's good. Yulong finally relaxed. Yulong and Longao left the cave and swaggered into the realm. Just as Yulong had said, the entire dragon plane was filled with divine dragons in human form. Each of them had a powerful aura. If he could help Brother Yulong obtain this supreme treasure, he believed that Yulong would be able to deal with Yububi easily without his help. However, Longao knew that since it was the supreme treasure of the Pinnacle Dragon clan and Yububi had relied on it to dominate the world, then it wouldn't be easy for the two of them to get it. Both Longao and Yulong knew this very well. They felt helpless. Brother Long, I know what you're thinking. If I can take back the supreme treasure of the Dragon clan, I'm confident that I can defeat Yububi. I just sensed that the 4 elders of the Pinnacle Dragon clan seem to have broken through. Breakthrough? What did that mean? Longao knew very well that the 4 elders mentioned by Yulong were all Starry Sky Immortal Realm experts. If they continued to break through, then there was no doubt that their cultivation had broken through the Starry Sky Immortal Realm to the Starry Sky Immortal Realm. If that was the case, then the Pinnacle Dragon clan, including Yulong, would have a total of 6 Starry Sky Immortal Realm experts. What kind of concept was that? Even the number 1 Starry Sky Empire couldn't compare to this strength because even the number 1 Starry Sky Empire only had 3 Starry Sky Immortal Realm experts. If the 9 great Starry Sky Empires didn't have a half-step Starry Sky ruler, then there was no doubt that the 9 great Starry Sky Empires would have to join forces to fight against the Pinnacle Dragon clan. No Starry Sky Empire, no Starry Sky Empire could defeat the Pinnacle Dragon clan. Chapter 2442. Longao didn't look too good. Yulong's face turned gloomier. Both Longao and Yulong knew what it meant for the 4 elders to break through the limit of the Starry Sky Immortal Realm. It was already hard to deal with before, and now that the four elders had broken through, it was even harder to deal with. He sighed deeply. Yulong said helplessly, "It seems that the heavens don't bless me. Now that the four elders have broken through, it's impossible for me to take back the dragon race." He wasn't Yububi's opponent in a one-on-one fight. If it was 1 against 5, the result could be predicted. It was suicide. The more he thought about it, the more helpless he felt. How could Longao not know what Yulong meant? He thought about it. "Brother Yulong, you don't have to rush. You've waited for so long. Why rush?" Yulong smiled helplessly. That being said, if it really happened, one would know what it felt like to wait a day like a year. Longao smiled and continued, "Brother Yulong, our top priority now is to help you find the treasure of the dragon race. As for the rest, we'll take it one step at a time. Since it's like this, we can only do so." They had waited for so many years, it didn't matter if they kept waiting. It was similar to Yulong's reaction. A few hours later, the dragon race sent out the news that the four elders had all reached the limit of the starry sky immortal realm. According to the rules of the dragon race, as long as they could break through the limit of the starry sky immortal realm, they could become a supreme elder. Their status was even slightly higher than the Dragon Emperor. The four-peak starry sky immortal realm experts suddenly appeared in the dragon race. The entire dragon race, and even the entire plane, were very excited. Everyone knew what it meant to have four-peak starry sky immortal realm experts. Longao and Yulong had been thinking of ways to enter the dragon vein without anyone noticing. If he could enter the Primal Chaos Palace and casually move the Primal Chaos Palace, then he and Wandering Dragon would be able to silently enter the dragon vein. The Chaos Palace was the key. However, Longao was helpless against the Chaos Palace. This was because even now, Longao was still unable to truly control the Primal Chaos Palace. He could only move the Primal Chaos Palace within a short distance. It was almost impossible for him to move the Primal Chaos Palace on a large scale. Longao did not tell Yulong about the Primal Chaos Palace. Other than his closest relatives, no one else knew about it. Other than the Primal Chaos Palace, Longao could not think of a better way to enter the dragon vein without anyone noticing. This time, now that he had finally encountered a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, if he were to carelessly miss it, who knew how long he would have to wait before he could break through to the starry sky immortal realm? The two of them found a place with a lot of people and walked around. "Brother Long, have you thought of a way?" Yulong couldn't do anything because Yububi was too familiar with his aura. He believed that Yububi would be able to lock onto him as soon as he got close to the forbidden dragon vein, let alone stepping into it. Yulong was very clear about this point. Not only Yulong, but even Longao knew about this. He said helplessly, "According to what you said, the four elders have all broken through to the peak starry sky immortal realm. Including Yububi, there are 5 peak starry sky immortal realm experts watching the dragon vein. If we go to the forbidden dragon vein now, we'll be asking for trouble. Then what should we do now?" This time, they stepped into the Dragon Clan's dimension in order to enter the forbidden dragon vein. If they couldn't do that, then this trip would have been in vain. He shrugged helplessly. "Wait and see. There's only one way now, and that's to wait." Wait? Yulong knew what Longao meant. Going against Yububi's group of 5 head-on would be suicide. However, this was not the way to go. The longer they delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for them. Yububi couldn't lock onto their location now, but that didn't mean he wouldn't be able to lock onto them forever. It was better to be safe than sorry. If they were unlucky one day and were locked onto by Yububi, they would be doomed. How could Longao not know what Yulong was thinking? However, there was nothing he could do about it. At this moment, Yulong thought for a while and said, "Brother Long, you and I are close friends. As long as your body is suitable to enter the forbidden dragon vein, I'll take the risk." What did he mean? Just as Longao was very curious and was about to speak, Yulong didn't give Longao a chance to speak. He continued, "Brother Long, listen to me. If I suddenly appear outside the Dragon Clan's dimension, think about what will happen." Longao was not a fool. In just an instant, he already understood what Yulong meant. Yulong's intention was very simple. He wanted to use himself as bait to lure Ububi and the other four. He could take advantage of this opportunity to enter the forbidden dragon vein. Longao was very confident in this matter, and he could do it. But could he really do it? Longao knew what Yulong meant. If he wasn't careful, Yulong would be surrounded by the five of them. By then, his life would be in danger. If it were someone else, he wouldn't mind. However, he really treated Yulong as a friend. He believed that Yulong treated him with sincerity. Otherwise, Yulong wouldn't do this. After all, this was a place with a high chance of survival. The more this was the case, the more Longao wouldn't agree. Shaking his head, Longao said firmly, "Brother Yulong, I know what you mean. However, I can tell you clearly that unless you don't treat me as a friend, I won't agree to this." Seeing that Yulong was about to say something, Longao waved his hand and said, "If you want to leave, we'll leave together. If you want to stay, we'll stay together. I won't enter the forbidden dragon vein and let you take the risk. If that's the case, I'd rather not enter the forbidden dragon vein than let you die." This was a joke. If it had been before, Yulong might have been able to resist Ububi alone, even if Ububi had an ultimate treasure from the Dragon Clan. However, the situation was completely different now. It wasn't just Ububi. The current Pinnacle Dragon Clan had 4 more Pinnacle Starry Sky Immortals. If 5 Pinnacle Starry Sky Immortals teamed up, Yulong definitely wouldn't be their match. Because of this, Longao decided that no matter what happened, he couldn't let Yulong take this risk. Chapter 2443. Yulong didn't say anything else. As for the flash of light in Yulong's eyes, Longao didn't notice it. At the top of a huge mountain stood a huge palace. It was extremely majestic and vast. At a glance, the entire palace was a little shocking. Inside the huge palace, other than the Dragon Emperor, who was also Yulong's second uncle, Ububi, there were 4 other people. They were the first Supreme Elder, second Supreme Elder, third Supreme Elder, and fourth Supreme Elder. The 4 Supreme Elders had broken through from the Starry Sky Immortal Realm to the peak of the Starry Sky Immortal Realm. The status of Supreme Elder and Supreme Elder were 2 completely different concepts. Dragon Emperor, may I know why you've summoned the 4 of us? The 4 Supreme Elders were very curious because they had just broken through to the peak of the Starry Sky Immortal Realm. It was the best time for seclusion. The Dragon Emperor wouldn't summon them at this time unless there was something serious. That was indeed the case. The 4 couldn't figure out what would make the Dragon Emperor like this. Ububi's face was very gloomy as he said, "Not long ago, for some reason, I suddenly sensed a trace of Yulong's aura. I didn't kill him back then, and now there are endless troubles." The more he thought about it, the more regretful and angry he felt. Back then, Ububi had the chance to kill Yulong and eliminate him completely. However, due to some special circumstances, he had let Yulong go. In fact, Ububi didn't care about Yulong at all. Yulong was just a Starry Sky Immortal Realm back then. Even if he was given countless years, it was impossible for him to reach the peak of the Starry Sky Immortal Realm. However, there was no absolute in everything. So that was it. The 4 Supreme Elders instantly understood the Dragon Emperor's meaning. If it was something else, the Dragon Emperor wouldn't bother them casually. But this was the most important thing in the Dragon Emperor's heart. Cut the weeds and dig up the roots to prevent future troubles. Dragon Emperor, are you sure? Dragon Emperor, Yulong was just a Starry Sky Immortal Realm when he left. Even if he's talented, he can only reach the Starry Sky Immortal Realm at most. With such strength, he's seeking death by entering the plane without permission. That's not all. Dragon Emperor, have you ever thought that as long as Yulong enters the Dragon Clan's plane, we'll definitely know? How could the 4 Supreme Elders not be aware of this? In the eyes of the 4 Supreme Elders, the Dragon Emperor was a little too afraid of Yulong. In fact, there was no need for him to be so afraid. How could Ububi not know what the 4 of them meant? However, for some reason, he felt that something was amiss. As for what was wrong, he couldn't put his finger on it. What's wrong with him? His expression was extremely gloomy and ugly. After thinking for a moment, Ububi said, I'm just afraid that the dragon plane has some sort of secret tunnel. If that's the case, Yulong can come in without anyone knowing. The four of them already knew what the Dragon Emperor meant. Yulong's talent is extraordinary. If he were to cultivate outside, I would naturally not be afraid. However, the situation now is different. If Yulong can really enter the plane without anyone knowing and enter the forbidden area of the dragon vein, then, at this point, Yububi didn't continue. However, the four supreme elders couldn't possibly not understand what he meant. If Yububi could use the dragon vein to rapidly increase his strength, then Yulong could do the same. He might even be faster. It would be a lie to say that they weren't afraid. Dragon Emperor, you're worrying too much. First Supreme Elder smiled and continued, Dragon Emperor, the four of us know what you're worried about. Even if Yulong can enter the plane without anyone knowing, it's impossible for him to enter the forbidden area of the dragon vein. Why is that? He couldn't figure it out. Yububi didn't know what First Supreme Elder meant. If it was someone else, it definitely wouldn't work. Only Yulong. No matter what, Yulong was his elder brother's only son. Moreover, he had the purest bloodline. His bloodline was even more superior than his. Yulong had a higher chance of entering the forbidden area of the dragon vein and using the dragon vein. Therefore, how could Yububi not be worried about this? Second Supreme Elder smiled and continued, Dragon Emperor, our elder brother's intention is simple. The forbidden area of the dragon vein has a forbidden power that the five of us set up. If anyone, including Yulong, can enter, we'll definitely be the first to know. The Dragon Emperor wanted to say something but could only sigh in the end. Although he knew this was the case, he was still worried. At the end of the day, Yububi was still very afraid of Yulong. At this moment, Fourth Supreme Elder stood up and said, Dragon Emperor, instead of worrying about Yulong entering the forbidden area of the dragon vein, why don't you hope that he can enter the forbidden area of the dragon vein? What do you mean? Hearing the Fourth Supreme Elder's words, the Dragon Emperor was very curious. He didn't know what the other party meant. He hoped that Yulong wouldn't enter the forbidden land of the dragon vein. So how could he still hope for Yulong to enter? If he didn't trust the Fourth Supreme Elder, he would even suspect that the Fourth Supreme Elder had betrayed him. Fourth Supreme Elder, you'd better tell the Dragon Emperor quickly so that he won't continue to worry. Fourth Supreme Elder smiled and said, Dragon Emperor, if Yulong really dares to enter the forbidden area of the dragon vein, we can use this opportunity to eliminate him and eliminate him completely. Yububi wasn't a fool. He instantly understood what the four Supreme Elders meant. He was a little too anxious just now. Now that he thought about it, it was indeed so. Why should he be worried about Yulong entering the forbidden area of the dragon vein? He should be hoping that Yulong would enter the forbidden area of the dragon vein, so that he could better lock onto Yulong's location and kill him. If Yulong didn't enter the Dragon Clan's realm in the forbidden area of the dragon vein, it would be difficult to lock onto Yulong's location. Thinking of this, Yububi suddenly laughed out loud and said, The four of you are very thoughtful. I'm overthinking. Dragon Emperor, according to my guess, Yulong wouldn't have dared to casually step into this realm without full confidence. Otherwise, why wouldn't he have come earlier after so many years? Why would he wait until now? Elder Brother is right. The four of us still have to stabilize our realms. We'll take our leave first. We won't see you out. Seeing the four Supreme Elders stand up and leave, Yububi suddenly laughed and muttered to himself, Looks like the four of them are still on my side. I'm relieved. If they were on Yulong's side, humph, no matter how reluctant I am, I'll kill them as soon as possible to avoid unnecessary trouble. The four Supreme Elders couldn't hear Yububi's muttering. Chapter 24:44. Actually, Yububi didn't sense Yulong's aura at all. This time, Yububi had summoned the four of them to test them out. No matter what, the four of them weren't as strong as before. As the four of them broke through to the Starry Sky Immortal Realm, the four Supreme Elders' status in the Dragon Clan would definitely soar. If the four of them were still willing to follow Yulong, they would definitely become a huge threat in the future. Yububi was wary of the four of them. This time, He had decided that if the four of them were really disloyal, he would kill them. In the future, Yububi wouldn't be their opponent. Not only that, he might even ask them to help Yulong and take back the Dragon Clan. Yububi was full of confidence. If he attacked now, he was confident that he could take on all four of them by himself and kill them all. From the beginning, Yububi didn't care about Yulong at all. Where is he? Longao was very shocked, because he had already discovered that Yulong, who was still there just now, seemed to have evaporated into thin air. Even he didn't sense Yulong leaving. Longao wasn't a fool. He knew what Yulong meant. If he wasn't wrong, Yulong must have left the plane and entered the mysterious tunnel. He could almost predict what would happen next. Although Yulong wanted him to help him in the future, without this friendship, Yulong wouldn't be willing to risk his life. He would leave too? Longao was not reckless, because he knew very well that if he went out at this time, then everything that Yulong had done would be wasted. Why did he have to do this? He was grateful to Yulong. Since it had happened, Longao immediately turned and headed towards the Forbidden Dragon Vein. Yulong had already told Longao where the Forbidden Dragon Vein was. At that time, he believed that Yulong had already made his decision and he couldn't stop him. The Forbidden Dragon Vein was the forbidden area of the Dragon Clan. No one was allowed to enter unless they had permission from the Dragon Emperor or Supreme Elders. Wait, about 4 hours later, Yulong came out of the plane and started roaring. The entire Dragon Clan was in an uproar. Everyone knew Yulong's identity. Although many people didn't like this matter, no matter what, Yulong was the real Dragon Emperor. Although he was angry, he didn't dare to say anything. Yububi, who was in the middle of cultivating, immediately stood up. He was extremely surprised. In the past, he would have gone alone. But now, in order to verify their loyalty, Yububi immediately left the plane with the 4 Grand Elders. As for the Dragon Vein Forbidden Land, although the 5 of them had left the Dragon Plane, the seal was still there. You could say that. If someone were to take half a step into the forbidden area of the Dragon Vein, the 5 of them would definitely know about it immediately. Whether it was Longao or Yulong, how could they not know this? However, the 2 of them were not worried at all. Yulong had an idea. As long as the 5 of them could leave the Peak Dragon Clan, they could enter the Forbidden Dragon Vein without anyone noticing. The forbidden land of the Dragon Vein was within a huge mountain peak. There were countless experts guarding it, but they were hidden in the dark. Ever since Yububi became the Dragon Emperor, he had been very strict. Not to mention outsiders, even his own clansmen would be killed if they dared to step into the forbidden area of the Dragon Vein. Although Longao's cultivation had not broken through to the Starry Sky Immortal Realm and was only at the Starry Sky Legend Realm, the experts of the Dragon Clan could not sense him at all after he hid his aura. Just like that. According to Yulong's idea, Longao had stepped into the forbidden area of the Dragon Vein without anyone noticing. Looking at the Dragon Vein that appeared in front of him, Longao was very shocked because he never thought that the so-called Dragon Vein would actually be a huge dragon. What did that mean? Others might not be able to see anything, but Longao could clearly sense that the Dragon Vein in front of him was not a Dragon Vein, but a real giant dragon. What exactly was it? Why did this giant dragon seal itself? Even the people at the pinnacle of the dragon race did not know. Could it be because? Longao was completely shocked because he had already thought of a possibility, and that was that the huge dragon in front of him was most likely thinking of breaking through the final realm and thus chose to seal itself. Once it broke through the seal, it would be the time to break through the realm. According to Longao's guess, if there were no accidents, the divine dragon in front of him should be a Peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm expert, or even an ancestor of the Peak Dragon Clan. But this ancestor of the Peak Dragon Clan wanted to break through to the half-step Starry Sky Ruler Realm from the Peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm, so it chose to seal itself. It was too crazy. Longao knew very well that there could only be 2 results by doing so. The first result was a smooth breakthrough, and the second result was a direct fall. Even thinking about it, he felt that it was impossible, because everyone in the vast Starry Sky knew that there was only one way to break through to the half-step Starry Sky Ruler Realm, and that was to obtain the 9 Great Secret Realms. However, the 9 Great Secret Realms had been refined by the ancestors of the 9 Great Starry Sky Empires, so outsiders could not obtain them. Longao's face turned ugly, because he knew very well that the ancestor of the Peak Dragon clan must have his own confidence since he dared to seal himself and break through to the half-step Starry Sky ruler realm. If he succeeded, then there was no doubt that the Peak Dragon clan would have a half-step Starry Sky ruler realm expert. At that time, even the 9 great Starry Sky empires of the human clan would not dare to casually provoke the Peak Dragon clan. He was shocked. If Brother Yulong could control the Peak Dragon clan, then everything would be fine. Not only could he fulfill Yulong's dream, but he could also use the power of the Peak Dragon clan to deal with the so-called 9 great Starry Sky empires. Brother Long suddenly thought of Yulong. Whether it was for his own interests or for the sake of Yulong's friendship, he had to think about Yulong. If Yulong's cultivation could break through to the half-step Starry Sky ruler realm, it would be best. Thinking about it was always thinking about it, but doing it was very difficult, because it was almost impossible to break through to the half-step Starry Sky ruler realm from the Peak Starry Sky immortal realm. However, he still had to do it. Even if Yulong could not break through to the half-step Starry Sky ruler realm, he had to continue improving his strength. At the very least, he had to become the #1 expert under the half-step Starry Sky ruler realm. What should he do? Longao did not immediately make a move, nor did he want to use the dragon vein to increase his strength. Instead, he stood quietly and looked at the huge divine dragon in front of him. If he could destroy this divine dragon and let Yulong devour this divine dragon, then it would be the best thing. However, what should he do in order to do it smoothly? Chapter 24:45. Outside the dragon dimension. Looking at Yulong in front of him, Yububi's face turned ugly. Yulong had indeed broken through the limit of Starry Sky immortal realm. Otherwise, Yulong would not have dared to come here alone. He was seeking his own death. Congratulations to the 4 Supreme Elders for breaking through the limit of Starry Sky immortal realm. Sure enough, Yulong bowed respectfully. Yulong, since you've left, why did you come back? The 4 great elders were very dejected because no matter what, Yulong was still the only descendant of the previous Dragon Emperor. Otherwise, they would not have done everything they could to protect Yulong. Yububi did not say anything. However, Yububi was extremely displeased. He didn't expect the 4 of them to be so scheming. If the 4 of them really betrayed him, he would not be able to fight against Yulong even if he had the supreme treasure of the Dragon Clan. He wanted to see what Yulong had to say. Yulong smiled helplessly and said coldly, "Supreme Elders, I was the Dragon Emperor of the Dragon Clan. It's just that Yububi is a traitor." He stopped here. Yulong definitely did not want to fall out with the 4 Supreme Elders. Because of the grudge between him and Yububi, he did not want to lose the power of the Dragon Clan. How could the 4 Supreme Elders not know about this? However, the truth was already set. They could not just cripple Yububi and make Yulong the new Dragon Emperor. It was simply impossible. At this moment, Yububi sneered and said, "Yulong, you're my elder brother's son. Back then, you were not qualified to be the Dragon Emperor of the Dragon Clan." "Are you saying that you're qualified?" Yulong forcefully suppressed the anger in his heart because he knew that the reason he came here openly this time was to stall for time, so that Longao could smoothly step into the forbidden land of the Dragon Vein. The longer he delayed, the more advantageous it would be for Longao. "Yububi, back then, my father chose me to be the Dragon Emperor of the Dragon Clan. It's just that he did not call for a clan meeting. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a chance." This was also where he had made the biggest mistake. Yulong was extremely regretful. If he had called for a clan meeting back then, Yububi would not have a chance to become the Dragon Emperor even if he wanted to. In the end, he still chose to believe in his second uncle. From the beginning to the end, Yulong had never thought that his biological second uncle would actually harm him and take away the entire Pinnacle Dragon clan from him. The more he thought about it, the more he regretted it, and the more disgusted he felt. Yububi didn't feel guilty at all. He said indifferently, "The winner is the king, and the loser is the bandit. You lost, and that's that. There's no need to talk nonsense. Winner takes all." This was a principle that would never change. If Yububi had failed, then the Dragon Emperor of the Dragon Clan would not be Yububi, but Yulong. The four Supreme Elders all nodded in agreement. Of course, they knew that the previous Dragon Emperor had chosen their son. But would it work? Since Yububi had won, a victory was a victory. Thinking of this, First Supreme Elder said, Yulong, Dragon Emperor, if both of you agree, then I have an idea. What do you think? Please speak, Grand Elder. Yububi nodded in agreement. In that case, let's have a fair fight. The winner will be the Dragon Emperor of the Dragon Clan. What do you think?
That's not fair.
Before the First Supreme Elder could finish his words, Yulong interrupted him. What a joke. Although Yububi's cultivation base had broken through the limit of Starry Sky Immortal, his opponent had a Pinnacle Dragon Clan's supreme treasure. If they fought, Yububi would lose without a doubt. Only the Pinnacle Rat Clan's Rat Emperor could fight Yububi. Needless to say, he would definitely lose this fight. The four Supreme Elders all looked at Yububi, because it was up to the Dragon Emperor to decide if he was willing to have a fair fight. The four of them couldn't make the decision. Yububi shook his head and said, I have merged with the ultimate treasure of the Dragon Clan. No matter when I fight, it won't be like this. Yububi's meaning was clear. He wouldn't have a fair fight. Yulong had guessed it, because if Yububi took the ultimate treasure, he believed that Yububi wouldn't dare to fight with him. By then, the outcome of the fight would be uncertain. It was still the same statement. Yulong's real goal wasn't to defeat Yububi and become the Dragon Emperor of the Dragon Clan. His real goal was to stall for time and create more time for Longao. Seeing that Yulong didn't dare to fight, Yububi smiled and said, Yulong, I can give you a chance. No matter when, as long as you can defeat me, I will give you the throne. How about it? It's a deal. It's a deal. The four Supreme Elders were helpless. Whether it was Yulong or Yububi, they were on the same side. They couldn't interfere in the matters between the two. This was actually the best outcome. Yububi brought the four Supreme Elders back to the plane. However, Yulong was unwilling to do so. At this moment, he wasn't sure if Longao had entered the Forbidden Dragon Vein. It was still an unknown. Although he had already told Longao the method to enter the Forbidden Land of the Dragon Vein, there were always accidents. Thinking of this, Yulong suddenly smiled and said, For Supreme Elders, I have something to say. The five Supreme Elders who were about to leave stopped abruptly when they heard Yulong's words. They looked at Yulong curiously, wondering why Yulong suddenly stopped them. Yububi's heart was cold. He didn't want to kill Yulong in front of the four Supreme Elders and be accused of harming his nephew. If this matter spread out, how would the Dragon Clan look at him? It was because of this that Yububi didn't kill Yulong otherwise. Even if the Supreme Elders tried to stop him, Yulong wouldn't have been able to escape. However, Yububi was furious. Yulong's cultivation had broken through the limit of the Starry Sky Immortal Realm. If Yulong could obtain the supreme treasure of the Dragon Clan, he wouldn't be Yulong's opponent at all. He had to get rid of Yulong as soon as possible. Yububi was already thinking of all sorts of ways. It would be best if he could do it secretly. However, after so many years, Yulong seemed to have disappeared from the world. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't find any trace of Yulong. The more he thought about it, the more depressed he became. After so many years, where did Yulong go? What's the matter? The four Supreme Elders were very curious. They didn't want to stay here any longer. It would be best if the two of them could solve the problem by themselves. It would be best if the four of them didn't intervene. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to face the previous Dragon Emperor who had already fallen. Especially, they wouldn't be able to face all the human clansmen of the dragon race. Chapter 2446. For Great Elders, I may have been set up by a scoundrel, but I'm still a member of the Dragon Clan. What do you think? The four of them looked at each other and nodded helplessly. No matter where they went, no matter when they went. Even if Yulong couldn't become the Dragon Emperor of the Dragon Clan, he was still a member of the Dragon Clan. Even Yububi didn't have any objections to this. What did this mean? Both Yububi and the four Great Elders didn't know what Yulong meant. Why did he say this out of the blue? They sneered in their hearts. Yulong said indifferently, Yububi, since I'm a member of the Dragon Clan, I have the right to enter the dragon vein forbidden land to cultivate. So that was it. The five of them finally understood what Yulong meant. The four great elders didn't have any objections. They remained neutral on whether Yulong could enter the dragon vein forbidden land or not. Because of this, the four of them didn't say anything. Their meaning was clear. Yububi sneered, Yulong, I'm the Dragon Emperor of the Dragon Clan. I have the final say on whether you have the right to enter the Dragon Vein Forbidden Land. Yububi used to have the final say, but the situation was different now. As the four of them broke through the limit of the Starry Sky Immortal Realm, the four of them had the right to call the shots in the Dragon Clan. However, it wasn't good for the four of them to show their faces in this situation. Who should they help? No matter what, the Dragon Emperor of the Dragon Clan was Yububi, not Yulong. Because of this, the four of them were more or less biased towards Yububi. How could Yulong not know this? You mean you don't want me to enter the Dragon Vein Forbidden Land? Yulong's face was gloomy. It was as ugly as it could get. The position of Dragon Emperor was supposed to be his. He could enter the Dragon Vein Forbidden Land whenever he wanted, but now, he couldn't even take half a step in. However, he couldn't be reckless at this time. If Yububi insisted on taking on the five of them alone, Lin Fan might very well die here. He couldn't die for his revenge. You don't have the final say on whether I have the right or not. I'm asking the four great elders. Yulong stared at the four of them. What should he say? The four of them sighed deeply. The first Supreme Elder said helplessly, Yulong, the Dragon Emperor has the final say in entering the forbidden land of the Dragon Vein. You should prepare well. The Dragon Emperor just said that as long as you can defeat the Dragon Emperor, you will be the new Dragon Emperor. First Supreme Elder's meaning was clear. If Yulong won the battle between Yububi and Yulong, not only would he become the Dragon Emperor, but he would also be able to enter the Forbidden Dragon Vein whenever he wanted. Yulong didn't care at all. He only had one goal, and that was to stall for time and buy more time for Longao. Within the Dragon Plain, Longao looked at the huge dragon vein in front of him and didn't move at all. He didn't want to use the dragon vein to increase his strength. Even if he could successfully reach the Starry Sky Immortal Realm, it would be troublesome. Longao was very clear about the situation. The other members of the Dragon Clan wouldn't have any complaints even if they were controlled by the old ancestor of the Dragon Clan. However, his situation was completely different. Even if he wasn't afraid of the old ancestor of the Dragon Clan, it would still be troublesome in the future. Longao had decided that no matter what, he would help Yulong and use the power of the old ancestor of the Dragon Clan to help Yulong break through the peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm. It was easy to say, but difficult to do. If he let his guard down, he would attract the attention of Yububi and the others. At that time, he might not even be able to leave this place, let alone help Yulong devour the power of the divine dragon. What should he do? Longao did not dare to casually make a move because he did not know if the dragon vein in front of him would be revived if he touched it. If that was the case, then his gains would not make up for his losses. It was a helpless matter. After thinking for a while, Longao still couldn't come up with a good idea. Longao couldn't wait any longer. He released a little of his primordial spirit power and slowly approached the dragon vein in front of him. Step by step, Longao was very careful and didn't dare to make the slightest mistake. When the power of the primordial spirit touched the dragon vein, there was no movement at all. However, Longao was not surprised at all, because he knew very well in his heart that he was no different from the others. It would be strange if the dragon vein had any movement. In the end, Longao chose to leave and left the Dragon Clan plane as fast as he could. At this time, Yulong had successfully escaped. Yububi didn't make a move from the beginning to the end. As for what he meant, no one knew. Brother Yulong, if you do this again, we'll stop being friends. Yulong smiled and didn't take his words to heart. However, Yulong's face changed instantly and he said helplessly, "It seems that your body constitution isn't suitable for the forbidden dragon vein." Yulong sighed deeply in his heart because he didn't expect that Longao's physique was actually not suitable for the forbidden land of Dragon Vein. It seemed that he had done it in vain this time. However, things had already come to this. Even if he was helpless, there was no other way. Longao didn't continue to dwell on the previous problem because he knew that Yulong was doing this for his own good. Otherwise, Yulong wouldn't have risked his life to delay him so that he could break through to the starry sky immortal realm in the forbidden dragon vein. However, the dragon vein was the supreme treasure of the dragon clan. Otherwise, his cultivation wouldn't have reached this level. However, it was almost impossible for him to break through the half-step starry sky sovereign realm, devouring dragon vein. Countless dragon emperors of the pinnacle dragon clan had never thought of such a crazy thing. Only Ububi had thought of this because in his heart, even if it meant risking his life, he would devour the dragon vein. This was his only chance to break through to the half-step starry sky ruler realm. As for whether he could use the dragon vein to break through to the half-step starry sky ruler realm, he didn't have the slightest confidence. Even if he only had 10% confidence, Ububi wouldn't have waited for so many years. He would have devoured the dragon vein long ago. In the end, Ububi was afraid of death. He was afraid that if he devoured the dragon vein, not only would he not break through to the half-step starry sky ruler realm, but he would also be devoured by the dragon vein and be doomed eternally. He clenched his fists tightly. Ububi stared at the huge dragon vein in front of him. His heart was in a mess. He didn't know what to do. Should he devour the dragon vein? Or should he not devour the dragon vein? After thinking about it, Ububi chose to give up in the end. He wasn't confident that he could devour the dragon vein and break through to the half-step starry sky ruler realm. If he was unlucky, the dragon vein would devour him and he would be done for. If my primordial spirit could double and reach the old ancestors' level, I believe I can devour the dragon vein. Not only that, Ububi knew very well that even if his primordial spirit could double and reach the old ancestors' level, he would still have to integrate with the supreme treasure of the dragon clan. Otherwise, he wouldn't dare to devour the dragon vein so casually. It was too difficult to integrate with the supreme treasure of the dragon clan. If he could integrate with the supreme treasure of the dragon clan, there was no doubt that his strength would increase by another level. What kind of concept was that? Ububi stood up and looked at the supreme treasure of the dragon clan in his hand. He sighed deeply. However, he had no choice but to sit on the ground and borrow the power of the dragon vein to continue integrating with the supreme treasure of the dragon clan. Outside the dragon clan's dimension, Longao was extremely depressed. He knew that Yulong's strength would increase tremendously if he devoured the power of the divine dragon. However, even if he knew, he couldn't think of a good way to deal with it. What should he do? He definitely couldn't devour it by force. After all, he couldn't be sure if the old ancestor of the dragon clan had died. If he didn't, the consequences would be unimaginable if Longao tried to devour it. Not to mention devouring the power of the divine dragon, he might even be devoured by the divine dragon. He had to be 100% confident in this matter. Longao didn't want to kill Yulong, otherwise he would blame himself for the rest of his life. Brother Long, if you can't think of a good way, why don't we leave this place first? Yulong already knew that Longao wasn't willing to use the dragon vein to increase his strength. In that case, it would be nonsense to continue staying here. It would be better to leave this place and return to the mysterious dimension. If he could find the source of power, it would be of great help to him and Longao. How could Longao not know what Yulong meant? However, he shook his head and said, "Brother Yulong, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for you. No matter how difficult it is, we can't leave this place. If you can devour the dragon vein, not only will your cultivation increase greatly, you might even break through to the half-step starry sky sovereign realm." Break through to the half-step starry sky sovereign realm? Yulong was very curious. He didn't quite believe it. Even if he devoured the dragon vein, it shouldn't be a problem for him to break through to the half-step starry sky sovereign realm. Brother Long, how confident are you? I'm 100% confident. As long as you devour the dragon vein, you should be able to break through to the half-step starry sky sovereign realm. Chapter 2448. For some reason, Longao always believed that if you long devoured the dragon vein, his cultivation could smoothly break through to half-step starry sky ruler. Longao believed in his intuition. Yulong didn't have the slightest doubt. Brother Long, as everyone knows, there are 9 half-step starry sky rulers in the vast starry sky. The biggest reason why they could become half-step starry sky rulers is because of secret realms. Everyone knew that there were 9 secret realms. Everyone knew that to become a half-step starry sky ruler, one had to devour secret realms. In the vast starry sky, there were only 9 secret realms. Could he really become a half-step starry sky ruler by devouring the old ancestor's power? Yulong didn't have much confidence in his heart. How could Longao not know what Yulong meant? After thinking about it, Longao said, "Brother Yulong, let's not talk about whether you can become a half-step starry sky ruler by devouring the dragon vein. Let's think about how to devour the dragon vein's power first." Brother Long, is the old ancestor really still alive? Even now, Yulong was still a little shocked because he didn't dare to believe that the old ancestor was still alive. The entire starry sky knew about the old ancestor's death. Long too, the first-generation dragon emperor of the peak dragon race, had reached the limit of peak starry sky immortal realm. He was only 1 step away from becoming a half-step starry sky ruler. For some unknown reason, Long too suddenly perished countless years ago and vanished without a trace. Most likely, no one knew that Long too was still alive. He believed that other than Longao, no one else knew about this matter. Longao nodded. Regarding this point, Longao was 100% sure. Brother Yulong, I'm almost certain about this. Yulong and Longao began to discuss how to devour the dragon vein. Yulong's physique was the most suitable for devouring dragon veins. If others devoured them, the effect would definitely not be as good as Yulong's. Martial Sky Continent, Outer Sea, Crystal Palace. Father, we've been searching for so long, but we still can't find the 12 primal chaos steels. If others discover them, we'll be in big trouble. Yi Dugu knew very well what would happen if others devoured the 12 primal chaos steels. Once that happened, the vast starry sky would have 12 more starry sky rulers. However, Master God Diviner simply smiled and didn't seem to care at all. Even if all 12 chaos stone tablets are found and devoured, we don't have to worry too much. 12 chaos stone tablets. Adding on the other 12 chaos stone tablets, there were a total of 24 chaos stone tablets. Out of the 24 chaos stone tablets, only his divine divination stone tablet was a high-grade one. Perhaps at this time, the level of the primal chaos stone tablet didn't mean anything. But what about the future? As long as one could grasp the power within the primal chaos stone tablet, the grade of the primal chaos stone tablet would immediately appear. Not only that, Master God Diviner knew that it didn't matter who obtained the primal chaos stone tablet. The most important thing was to think of a way to quickly obtain the power within the stone tablet. If he could obtain the power within the primal chaos stone tablet, then nothing would be a problem. How could Yi Gudu not know his father's intentions? However, he was still extremely worried. Once the 12 chaos stone tablets were devoured by others and they became starry sky rulers, no one could be certain that these so-called starry sky rulers would be able to secretly obtain the primal chaos power within the primal chaos stone tablets. Although the primal chaos stone tablets were divided into low-grade, mid-grade, and high-grade primal chaos stone tablets, if someone could obtain the primal chaos power within a low-grade primal chaos stone tablet, then they could still instantly kill the owner of a high-grade primal chaos stone tablet.
Father,
Before Yi Dugu could speak, Master God Diviner waved his hand and said, "Dugu, I know what you're thinking. The primal chaos stone tablets aren't something we can control. If we're unlucky, even if we scour the entire starry sky, we won't be able to find them." This was the truth, but Yi Dugu wasn't willing to accept it. "Father, what should we do about Longao?" Longao? When it came to Longao, Master God Diviner felt a bit helpless. This was because even he couldn't see through Longao. If this situation continued, who knew what would happen in the future? Killing Longao was simply impossible. If he didn't kill Longao, then he was afraid of raising a tiger in the future. "Dugu, what do you think your father should do now?" Ah. Hearing his father's words, Yidugu seemed a bit surprised. This was because he had never imagined that his father would suddenly ask him this question. For so many years, especially when it came to Longao's matters, his father didn't need him to care. He couldn't even get a word in. What did his father mean? In his heart, Yidugu naturally hoped that his father would personally kill Longao. Although he didn't think much of Longao, nothing was absolute. If Longao really could grow, then wouldn't he be causing trouble for himself for nothing? Because of this, Yidugu thought for a moment, then said, "Father, in my opinion, we should cut the weeds and eliminate the roots as soon as possible. I believe that you asked this because Longao is becoming more and more unpredictable. If this continues, here," Yidugu paused for a moment, then continued, "according to my guess, the 2 primal chaos tablets that were taken in the primal chaos plane might not have left on their own. Longao might have done this on purpose to deceive others." Continue. Master God Diviner's face was very gloomy. He had gradually sensed that Longao was becoming more and more unpredictable. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't willing to accept this at all. However, Master God Diviner was still very conflicted. He didn't know if he should act against Longao, because Longao was the key. If he killed Longao, it would delay him from obtaining the primal chaos power within the primal chaos tablets. He wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. Father, Longao is cunning and mysterious. If he really does obtain the 2 primal chaos tablets, not only will he be able to refine them, but he will also become the ruler of the universe. No one can guarantee that Longao will be able to control the power within the primal chaos tablets. What if he does? Yidugu didn't continue, but the meaning of his words was very clear. Master God Diviner understood. He thought for a moment, then nodded. But in the end, he shook his head and said, "I understand what you're saying, but I can't easily give up on this opportunity. I've waited for so many years, and I can't wait any longer." Yidugu seemed to want to say something, but when he saw his father's expression, he forced himself to hold back. Chapter 2449. He wasn't willing. But more than that, he was furious. Yidugu couldn't do anything about it. Although he had begun to refine the primal chaos tablet, he still hadn't become a star ruler. Taking 10,000 steps back, even if he could refine the tablet and become a star ruler, he wouldn't dare go against his father's will. After Yidugu left, only Master Godly Mathematician was left in the Outer Sea Crystal Palace. He sat there quietly. What should he do? To kill or not to kill? Master Godly Mathematician couldn't make up his mind. Although he had decided not to kill Longao for now, it didn't mean he wouldn't kill him forever. He had calculated that Longao might be the key to obtaining primal chaos power. Because of this, Longao couldn't die for now. The variable was indeed the biggest variable in all of this. Master Godly Mathematician was helpless. He had divined countless people in the vast universe, but Longao was the only one he couldn't do anything about. Soaring Dragon Plane. Soaring Dragon Empire. Mu Lin and Aoshue were worried to the extreme after Long Yun left the Empire to train. However, they didn't go out to look for him in the end. "Mother, Yuner has been out for so long. Shouldn't we take action?" Aoshue wasn't too worried about Longao. Only a few of them knew that Longao had the Primal Chaos Palace and could enter it at will. According to Longao, as long as he could enter the Primal Chaos Palace, not to mention ordinary people, even star rulers wouldn't be able to locate it. Aoshue wasn't too worried. However, Aoshue was very worried about her son. Long Yun didn't have the Primal Chaos Palace. If he was in danger, wouldn't Yuner? The more she thought, the more she didn't dare to think. Thinking of this, before Mu Lin could speak, Aoshue continued, "Mother, why don't we take action immediately?" Mu Lin waved her hand. How could Mu Lin not be worried? She sighed deeply and said, "Aoshue, I know you're worried about Yuner's safety, but you have to know that Aoer is right. Yuner needs power. Now that Yuner has successfully broken through to Star Sky Legend, as long as he doesn't encounter Star Sky Immortal or Peak Star Sky Immortal, he should be fine." Was that really the case? In fact, even Mu Lin was not completely confident. Even if Yuner did not meet with such a super powerful being, the universe was filled with dangers. Who knew what sort of dangers Yuner might encounter? If he was lucky, he would be safe. If he was unlucky, who knew what would happen? However, Mu Lin still gritted her teeth and continued, "If we don't let Yuner leave, I believe Yuner will never grow up. This is also something you don't want to see." How could Ao Shue not know what her mother was like? Even so, Ao Shue was still worried. At this moment, Yuin slowly walked in. Yuin knew the conversation between Ao Shue and her mother without asking. Both Yuin and Mu Lin loved Yuner very much. Therefore, Yuin was also very worried about Yuner's safety. She didn't know how Yuner was doing. "Mother, Sister Ao Shue, you want to leave the empire and look for Yuner's whereabouts?" Mu Lin shook her head and said, "Yuin, Ao Shue is very worried about Yuner's safety. She hopes we can go out and look for Yuner. However, Yuner needs to train. If we rashly go out and look for Yuner, we might not be able to find Yuner. We might even encounter danger." Regardless of whether it was Ao Shue or Yuin, they were very clear about what their mother meant. If they encountered any danger, they knew very well that it would make Longao worry. It wouldn't be worth it. Yuin said helplessly, "Mother is right. Sister Ao Shue, when Yuner left this time, not only did Brother Long let a Star Realm Legend Corpse slave follow her, he even set up a forbidden power." Hearing this, Ao Shue and Mu Lin were very curious. They didn't know what this meant. Ao Shue couldn't wait and asked, "Sister Yuin, what do you mean?" "It's very simple. As long as Yuner is in danger, Brother Long will appear to save her." Apart from Yuin, no one else knew about this, including Ao Shue and Mu Lin. However, Yuin didn't want to see the two of them so worried. Although Longao repeatedly told her not to tell them before leaving, she still told them in the end. So that's how it is. "I don't know when Yuner will come back this time. I don't know where Brother Long is either." When she thought about how both father and son were gone, Ao Shue felt very helpless. However, there was nothing she could do. Even Sister Yuin and her mother couldn't stop Brother Long. Yuin smiled. How could she not know what Ao Shue was thinking? "Sister Ao Shue, we've already consumed the Chaos Tablet. If we want to help Brother Long, why don't we refine the Chaos Tablet as soon as possible? Once we become the rulers of the universe, no one in the universe will be able to hurt us." When the Chaos Tablet was mentioned, Ao Shue became more and more depressed. She said in a very depressed voice, "Ever since we consumed the Chaos Tablet, no matter how hard we tried, we couldn't succeed. If this continues, no one knows when we'll be able to refine the Chaos Tablet." It wasn't just Ao Shue. Even Mu Lin and Yuin had the same problem. It was a very special situation. However, the three of them also knew that refining the Chaos Tablet wasn't something that could be done so easily. According to Longao, when the 12 of them had obtained the Chaos Tablet at the same time, it had taken them countless years to refine the Chaos Tablet with great difficulty and finally become the rulers of the universe. Compared to them, the three of them paled in comparison. It wasn't even worth mentioning. Thinking of this, before Yuin could say anything, Ao Shue continued, "Sister Yuin, you're right. If we want to help Brother Long with all our strength, there's only one way, and that's to continuously strengthen ourselves. And the only way to strengthen ourselves is to refine the Chaos Tablet as soon as possible and become the rulers of the universe." Mu Lin didn't say anything. She just sat to the side and listened quietly. Yuin nodded in agreement and said, "Yuner will definitely be fine. Why don't we go into seclusion and refine the Chaos Tablet as soon as possible? Hopefully, we can become the rulers of the universe as soon as possible and help Brother Long, so that he won't have to run around for us." Everything Longao did was for his people. There was no doubt about that. Because of this, Mu Lin, Ao Shue, and Yuin all chose to immediately go into seclusion to cultivate. It wasn't just the three of them. Almost everyone who had consumed the Chaos Tablet had chosen to go into seclusion to cultivate. Chapter 2450. Longao and Yulong were ready to step into the forbidden land of the Dragon Vein. However, the two were also very depressed. It was almost impossible to enter the forbidden land of the dragon vein without anyone noticing. Unless the 5 of them left the dragon plane, the 2 could do it. But would the 5 of them leave? For so many years, Yububi had never taken a step out of the dragon plane. Brother Yulong, even if we continue to step into the dragon plane now, it won't be of much use. He nodded. How could Yulong not know what Longao meant? However, if they didn't enter the forbidden land of the dragon vein, how could they think of a way to devour the old ancestors' power? Brother Yulong, come with me. Yulong was very curious. He didn't know what Longao meant, but he still followed. It turned out, Longao's meaning was very simple. Since they couldn't deal with the peak dragon race for the time being, they might as well go to the mysterious plane and try to find the source of power again. Longao had always had a question, and that was whether or not his primal chaos palace would continuously increase in power as his strength increased. If that was the case, then things would be much easier to handle. It didn't matter. Yulong didn't say much, although he wasn't optimistic about this. After so many years, he had thought of countless ways, but he still couldn't find the source of power. The mysterious plane. Enemies meet on a narrow road. Longao and Yulong didn't even really step into the mysterious plane when they met the 2 people from before, Gongmu and Yichong. Was it intentional? Or was it a coincidence? A follower? Trash is fine. Longao, do you really think you can compete with us? Ignoring the 2, Longao just sneered. He looked at Yulong and said, Brother Yulong, if you have the chance, are you willing to take care of this trash? Of course, he was willing. But so what if he was willing? Others didn't know, but Yulong knew that Longao was just bluffing. He didn't have the strength to kill the 2 at all. If they really fought, they would most likely be the ones to suffer in the end, not Gongmu and Yichong. However, under such circumstances, he could only bite the bullet and say it. Yes. If he wasn't angry, then he wouldn't be a peak starry sky immortal. Be it Gangmu or Yichong, they were both true limit starry sky immortals, the strongest beings in the vast universe. But now, due to Longao's heaven-defying ability, the 2 of them did not dare to casually make a move. They could only endure it. But at this time, he could no longer tolerate it. All of a sudden, Gangmu and Yichong raised their heads and laughed crazily. Their laughter was filled with endless contempt and mockery. Not only did he despise Longao, but he also despised the 2 of them. The 2 of them had already thought it through. If the other party really had the strength and confidence to kill the 2 of them, why wait until now? They would have made their move long ago. The biggest reason why the other party was unwilling to make a move was because the other party was simply unable to kill the 2 of them. In other words, Longao's heaven-defying divine ability was just a decoration. The gap between realms could not be made up for by other things. Longao, are you still trying to fool us at this point? Fool? Longao smiled. How could he not know what the 2 of them were thinking? But there was no trace of fear on his face. He was very calm. Before the 2 of them could continue talking, Longao suddenly took out the primal chaos axe and then fiercely swung it. They had already seen how powerful Longao was. Although they did not believe that Longao could kill them, the space crack was very scary. If they were accidentally swallowed by the space crack, it would be too late to regret. The 2 of them did not dare to be careless and immediately dodged. But the result? Although Longao fiercely swung the axe, he did not use any strength. This blow was just to scare the 2 of them. Looking at the sorry state of the 2, Yulong laughed out loud. His laughter was very exaggerated. The meaning behind his laughter was very clear. Gangmu and Yichong were not fools. Of course, they could understand the meaning of the other party's laughter. Both of their faces were very gloomy, as ugly as it could get. How could they not know the meaning of Longao and Yulong's words? Because of this, they had completely lost their face this time. Before the battle even started, they had already lost. The 2 of you, let's not talk about your strength first. Just your courage alone is something that I don't dare to compliment. I'm impressed. The more Longao acted like this, the more gloomy the 2 of them were. Kill. Just as the 2 of them were about to make their move, Longao had already made his move. Under the spatial teleportation, The distance between the two of them was not very far. With just one spatial teleportation, he had already arrived in front of the two of them. Teleport? The two of them were experienced and knowledgeable. Of course, they knew what kind of magical power Longao had suddenly used. This kind of spatial teleportation, even they couldn't possess it. While they were shocked, before they could make a move, the primal chaos axe in Longao's hand had already smashed towards them. The two of them were frightened and immediately dodged, but the result was exactly the same as before. There was no strength at all. This time, Longao tricked the two of them again. Longao, you are courting death. The two of them were furious to the extreme. Longao had done this again and again. He did not put them in his eyes at all. If this continued, there was no need to fight at all. They would directly throw their faces to the ground. The two of them rushed towards Longao from the left and right. If it was the previous Longao, he would definitely not be able to contend with an ultimate Starry Sky Immortal expert. However, the current Longao had smoothly broken through to the Starry Sky Legend realm. Although he was still unable to kill an ultimate Starry Sky Immortal expert, it was more than enough for him to exchange a few moves. Longao's speed was extremely fast. The primal chaos axe in his hand was launched one move after another. This time, it was real. The two of them were not prepared at all. If it was not for their strength, perhaps the two of them would have already fallen. Edited by Lifer, Fingerfox Long sneered. Although he knew that he was not a match for the two of them, he still attacked them without hesitation. In the blink of an eye, the four of them had already engaged in a fierce battle. They were exchanging blows with each other and were having a great time. If it was a normal battle, Longao and Yulong would definitely not be a match for the two of them. However, due to Longao's several illusions, the two of them were very passive. Thus, Yulong and Longao began to gain the upper hand. This was definitely not the way to go. Longao certainly knew that the two of them would definitely not be able to kill Gongmu and Yichong. If they continued to fight, it would only be a waste of time. What should he do? If only he could bring out the Starry Sky Corpse demon. At least there would be a glimmer of hope. At least he would not be so helpless now. Chapter 2451. There was no point in continuing the fight. Should they just give up? They were unwilling. If this continued, they could only choose to give up. Yulong was very clear about this. Yulong, on the other hand, wasn't too dissatisfied. After all, he had been fighting with the two of them for so many years without any results. Whether it was Gangmu or Yichong, their attacks were getting more and more terrifying. They were almost certain that Longao and Yulong didn't have the strength to kill them. They had wasted so much time. Both sides were trying their best. If it were other Star Sky Legends, they would definitely suffer a great loss. Only Longao's primal chaos axe kept slashing out space cracks. It would be a lie if they said they weren't afraid. In this way, they didn't dare to use their full strength. If they were unlucky, who knew what would happen? There was a loud bang. The two sides were forced to separate. They looked at each other and could see the deep killing intent in each other's eyes. Longao, don't bluff. If you can break through to Star Sky Immortal Realm, maybe we will be afraid of you. But now, humph. Gangmu and Yichong's meaning was clear. They were no longer afraid of Longao. Longao didn't care at all. I'm just a Star Sky Legend. As you said, if I break through to Star Sky Immortal Realm, will you still be able to fight me? Hearing Longao's words, Gangmu and Yichong's faces became gloomier and uglier. They certainly knew Longao's supernatural power. Now that Longao was just a Star Sky Legend, they might be able to suppress him. But if Longao broke through to Star Sky Immortal Realm, would they still be able to suppress him? Gangmu and Yichong didn't have the slightest confidence. The more it was like this, the more they wanted to kill Longao. As for relying on Longao to find the source of power, it was almost impossible. They snorted coldly. How could Longao not know what the two of them were thinking? Gangmu, Yichong, I believe you've seen my talent. I'm confident that I'll be able to break through from Star Void Legend to Star Void Immortal Realm within a year. At this point, Longao did not continue, but the meaning of his words was very clear. Ha ha ha, Longao. Do you think you can wait until then? The two of them had no doubts about Longao's confidence. After a year, they didn't know much about Longao, but they knew a lot about Longao's talent. If it were anyone else, it would be almost impossible for them to break through to the starry sky immortal realm in just 1 year. However, Longao did not have any problems. If Longao's cultivation really broke through the so-called starry sky immortal realm a year later, would they still have a foothold? Cut the weeds and dig up the roots to prevent future troubles. Before the two of them could make a move, Longao and Yulong had already turned and left. The two people's speed was very fast. In a short while, they had already disappeared without a trace. They didn't chase after them. It was not that they didn't want to chase after them, but they knew that even if they did, it would be useless. They might as well not chase after them. Gang Mu sighed deeply. Gang Mu said helplessly, "This person's talent is too strong. He'll definitely break through from Star Void Legend to Star Void Immortal Realm within a year. At that time, you and I won't be able to fight against him. We have to think of a way. Otherwise, we'll all be finished." Gang Mu was worried about the same thing as Yicheng. Yicheng's face was also very ugly. He said coldly, "You're right. We have to deal with this person as soon as possible." The two of them were very fast. Yulong said with a smile, "Brother Long, I didn't expect that you could deter them. They didn't chase after us." Longao certainly knew that the two of them didn't chase after them. He was almost certain that Gang Mu and Yicheng would not be so reckless. In any case, the two of them didn't have full confidence. Otherwise, they would have stopped them before. "Brother Yulong, the two of them won't give up. We have to find a way to get rid of them first. Otherwise, they'll become our hindrance, and we won't be able to focus on finding the source of power." "That's the best. However, the two of them are very strong. With our strength, even if we join forces, we won't be able to kill them." How could Longao not know about Yulong's worries? Even so, Gang Mu and Yicheng must be killed. If the weeds were cut without removing the roots, they would grow again when the spring breeze blew. "Brother Yulong, I'm a Starry Sky Array Master." Array Master? Hearing that Longao was a Starry Sky Array Master, Yulong was shocked. He certainly understood what a Starry Sky Array Master meant. A Starry Sky Array Master could kill enemies at a higher level. However, Yulong wasn't too surprised because there were differences in strength between Starry Sky Array Masters. If Longao's array skills were low, then it would be almost useless against the two. However, if Longao was a high-level array master, then the situation would be different. "Brother Long, may I know what grade of Starry Sky Array Master you are?" Longao smiled and said, "I'm only one step away from the immortal realm." Yulong's face lit up when he heard Longao's words. Whether Longao's cultivation broke through to the Starry Sky Immortal Realm or his array skills broke through to the Starry Sky Immortal Realm, the chances of killing the two of them would be greatly increased. "Brother Long, how confident are you in dealing with the two of them with your array skills?" "I'm not confident at all. However, I have an array. If I can successfully arrange it, with our strength, we can definitely kill the two of them. Not only that, my array skills will definitely break through in less than a month." Longao knew very well that even if his array skills could break through to the Starry Sky Immortal Realm, it would still be impossible for him to kill the two peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm experts. However, Longao was full of confidence. This was because this was the strength of the array. As long as he could arrange a super big array with his whole body and mind, it would be possible to kill the two of them with the help of his and Yulong's combined strength. It would not be impossible. "All right, we'll arrange the array within a month. We'll kill the two of them first, and then focus on finding the source of power. We don't have to wait for a month. Brother Yulong, you can start arranging some basic things now. I'll try my best to break through to the Starry Sky Immortal Realm. After a month, I'll continue to arrange the array. According to my calculations, I'll be able to arrange the array in less than 3 months to deal with the two of them." "Okay, no problem." Yulong certainly didn't have any problems. As long as they could kill the two of them, everything would be worth it. Chapter 2452. In the following days, Longao was in seclusion, preparing to break through to the starry sky immortal realm. As for Yulong, he was preparing some basic things. As long as he knew a little about formations, he could do it. The two split up, preparing to set up formations in a month. In the distance, Gang Mu and Yicheng were looking for traces of Longao and Yulong. However, no matter how they looked, they still couldn't find any traces of them. This made them extremely angry. They didn't know where they had gone. They were furious. Yicheng said coldly, "We can't keep looking like this. They've already found us, so they must be on guard." How could Gang Mu not know what Yicheng meant? Gang Mu said helplessly, "This mysterious plane is too big. If they insist on hiding, it'll be very difficult for us to find them." Then what should we do now? Take one step at a time. Take one step at a time. It was easy to say, but it was incomparably difficult to do. Gang Mu thought for a moment and said, "Yicheng, why don't we join forces with all the peak starry sky immortals on this plane to deal with them?" Yicheng was a bit surprised. "You have to think carefully. If you ask them for help, they'll definitely demand an exorbitant price." Sigh. "So what if they do? We're already in a very bad situation." "All right. Mysterious plane. Besides Yulong, Gang Mu, and Yicheng, there were 6 other peak starry sky immortals. Altogether, there were 9 peak starry sky immortals. This force was very strong. Even in the vast universe, it was a force that couldn't be ignored. If there wasn't a half-step starry sky ruler, this force could shake any starry sky empire, including the 9 great starry sky empires. Gang Mu and Yicheng spent a lot of effort and paid a great price to find 6 peak starry sky immortals. They were Jin Chen, Hua Boli, Zhou Feng, Miao Ling Wang Ying, and Zhao Wu. 8 peak starry sky immortals. Once they joined forces, it was easy to imagine how powerful they would be. Time flew. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Longao's formation had successfully broken through to the starry sky immortal realm. Now, Longao's strength was incomparable to before. With his own strength and the power of the array, it was enough to kill a starry sky undying, and with ease. As for the peak starry sky undying realm, it was a little difficult. However, Longao had already thought of a countermeasure and was prepared to go all out. "Brother Long, are you ready?" Longao nodded and said, "My array formation realm has smoothly broken through to the starry sky immortal realm. In the next 3 months, I will do my best to arrange the array formation. After 3 months, we can take action." Joy immediately appeared on his face. "Brother Long, what can I do to help?" "Brother Yulong, help me guard this place. Don't let anyone disturb me." "No problem." Of course, Yulong knew that when a formation master arranged a formation, there must be no interference. Otherwise, there would be a lot of trouble. The array formation that Longao prepared to set up this time was called the 9 Heavens 10 Earths Annihilation Array. As Longao's strength continued to grow, the power of this array would also become more and more powerful. Not only that, the main reason why Longao chose the 9 Heavens 10 Earths Annihilation Array was because of this plane. After a month of sensing, he found that the 9 Heavens 10 Earths Annihilation Array seemed to be able to gather the power of this plane. With Longao's current level of array formation, he could easily arrange the 9 Heavens 10 Earths Annihilation Array. However, the current situation was completely different. In order to smoothly kill the 2 people with one strike, Longao certainly had to arrange the array formation with all his strength, hoping to arrange a super array formation. Longao was very clear about the current situation. If he failed to kill the 2 people with one strike and was discovered by them, it would be almost impossible to lure them into the array formation in the future. This was his only chance, and he must not miss it. 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. Seeing that the huge array formation in front of them had been successfully arranged, both Longao and Yulong were pleasantly surprised. The 9 Heavens 10 Earths Annihilation Array in front of them could be said to be the only way to kill the 2 people. "Brother Long, how confident are you that you can successfully kill the 2 people with the array formation?" Until now, Yulong was still a little uncertain because the 2 people were peak starry sky immortals after all. They were definitely not easy to deal with. How could Long Ao not know about Yulong's worries? Brother Long, if we can lure the two people into the array formation, I have full confidence that I can kill the two of them. Good, that's good. Since Long Ao had said so, Yulong would certainly not have the slightest doubt. The two did not hesitate and immediately left. 3 days later, the two parties locked onto each other's position and finally found the two people. According to Gang Mu and Yicheng, if the other 6-peak Starry Sky immortals all appeared, the two people would be on guard and would definitely turn around and leave. Trash. After cursing, before the two of them could react, Long Ao and Yulong immediately turned around and left. Their speed soared to the extreme. In a short while, the two of them had already disappeared without a trace. What's going on? Gang Mu and Yicheng were dumbfounded. However, since it wasn't easy to seize this opportunity, how could they give it up so easily? Without any hesitation, whether it was Gang Mu or Yicheng, including the 6-peak universe Undyings hidden in the depths, they all chased after him. The speed of both sides was very fast. In a short while, Long Ao and Yulong had already entered the 9 heavens 10 earths execution array. Now, the array was hidden very strangely. Ordinary people couldn't sense it at all. As for whether the peak Starry Sky immortals could sense it, that was unknown. In a short while, the 8-peak Starry Sky immortals had all arrived. At this moment, Miao Ling forcefully stopped the 7 of them with a serious expression. Miao Ling, what's wrong? What happened? Seeing Miao Ling-er's actions, the 7 of them were very curious. They did not know what Miao Ling was trying to do. However, as a peak Starry Sky immortal, Miao Ling definitely had her own senses. The 7 of them stopped abruptly. Miao Ling-er's expression was very serious. She asked curiously, Yulong isn't an array master. Is Long Ao an array master? Array master? Hearing the words array master, the 7 of them immediately understood what she meant. Gang Mu asked impatiently, Miao Ling, you mean there's an array in front of us? Miao Ling nodded and said, according to my senses, this array is not weak. Chapter 24:53. The power wasn't weak. The 7 of them knew what Miao Ling meant by not weak. One had to know that Miao Ling wasn't just an array master, she was also a space undying array master. Thinking of this, Yicheng sneered and said coldly, we have 8-peak space undying, and Miao Ling is a powerful array master. Why should we be afraid of Long Ao? Yicheng is right. We don't need to be afraid of Long Ao. Let's go. Miao Ling shrugged helplessly. She was confident in her array skills, especially when there were other peak space undying here. Even if she stepped into the array, she wouldn't be afraid at all. The 8-peak space undying entered one after another. In a short while, all 8 of them disappeared into the array. Just as the 8 stepped into the array, the entire 9 heavens 10 earths killing array started operating. Within the array, as the master of the array, Long Ao naturally knew that 8 of them had entered the array, and they were all peak space undying. Brother Yulong, what are the other 6 background? Yulong's expression was solemn. Seems like Gang Mu and Yicheng invited the other 6 peak space undying. Now that the 8 of them are working together, what are our chances of winning? Things were different now. If it was just Gang Mu and Yicheng, the array's power was enough to kill them both. However, the current situation was completely different. There were now 8 of them instead of 2. With the combined might of the 8 of them, could the magic array still kill off the 8 of them? Long Ao naturally knew what Yulong meant. If it was before, he would have been confident, but now, it was impossible. As expected, the 8 people who had already stepped into the formation, Gang Mu laughed loudly and said, Long Ao, Yulong, you want to rely on the formation to deal with us? Dream on. No one answered. Miao Ling, please help. Among the 8, only Miao Ling was an array master. Nodding, Miao Ling started to sense. In a short while, she said, 9 heavens 10 earths killing array. If I'm not wrong, the other party should be a space undying. He was very shocked. This was especially true for Gongmu and Yicheng. The two of them had never expected that Long Ao was not only an array formation master, but also an array formation starry sky immortal. How do we break the formation? It's very simple. As long as the 8 of us strike a single point, we'll be able to easily break the formation. He did as he said. Without a formation master, even if the 8 of them worked together, it was unlikely that they would be able to break the formation. However, with Miao Linger's proficiency in formations, she was able to quickly find a way to break the formation. The 8 of them joined forces and suddenly attacked a single point. Boom! A loud sound rang out. The entire 9 heavens 10 earths killing array collapsed, and Longao and Yulong's figures appeared. Ha ha ha! Ha 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 ha! Ha 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 ha! Gongmu and Yichong laughed crazily when they saw that the formation had been broken. With the power of 8 peak starry sky immortals, killing Longao and Yulong was no longer difficult. Yulong's expression was ugly because they would definitely lose if they were to fight 2 against 8. What should they do? Seeing that Longao was not moving, Yulong did not know what Longao was thinking. He used his spiritual consciousness to communicate. Brother Long, what should we do now? If we were to fight them head-on, we would be in big trouble. It wasn't a matter of trouble. If they were to fight them head-on, they might even be killed by the 8 of them. How could Longao not know what Yulong meant? However, Longao was clear that if he were to choose to leave now, the 8 of them would definitely attack him crazily. By then, the 2 of them would have no chance at all. Should they choose to enter the Chaos Palace? If they were able to enter the Primal Chaos Hall, Longao was undoubtedly confident that no one would be able to lock onto their location. But could they do that? It was definitely impossible. Other than a few people, no one else knew that he possessed the Primal Chaos Hall. It was because of this that Longao would not casually use the Primal Chaos Hall. If it were other things, then so be it. But the Chaos Palace was the only thing that could not be leaked. It was not that he did not trust Yulong. After all, this was a matter of great importance. Other than using the Primal Chaos Palace, Longao couldn't think of any other way to leave smoothly. This time, no matter how he calculated, he didn't expect Gang Mu and Yichong to invite 6 peak universe undyings. Longao and Yulong knew what it meant to have 8 starry sky immortals join hands. Seeing that Yulong and Longao did not speak, the 8 of them naturally knew what the other party meant. Not to mention the 2 of them, anyone else would be afraid of them. Longao, Yulong, we can give the 2 of you a chance. As long as you are willing to submit to the 8 of us, you will not die. The other 7 did not have any objections to Gang Mu's words. After all, one of them was a peak starry sky immortal, while the other was an array starry sky immortal. Such strength could not be ignored. Longao, who had been silent all this time, sneered and said, Gang Mu, Yichong, why don't we make a bet? Bet? What did Longao mean? The 8 of them were very curious. The calmer the other party was, the more uncertain they were. They did not know what Longao wanted to do. Longao, just say it. I want to see what you want. Things had already reached this point. If they chose to give up easily, then they would lose all face. Longao sneered and said coldly, Gang Mu, Yichong, I can guarantee that you can't keep the 2 of us here. If you can't, then all 8 of you will submit to us. What do you think? Anger. Endless anger. Under normal circumstances, the 8 of them would not be afraid of the 2 of them. However, Longao did this. Did he have something to rely on? The more they thought about it, the more they felt that something was wrong. It was better to be safe than sorry. In the eyes of the 8 of them, Longao was clearly setting a trap for them. If the 8 of them really fell into the trap, then they wouldn't even have the chance to regret it after death. Gangmu and Yichong might be able to make decisions for themselves, but they could not make decisions for the other 6. Even if they were willing, the other 6 would not agree. The 2 of them did not want to become enemies with the 6 of them. The 2 of them looked at the 6 of them. Their meaning was clear. The 6 of them were not fools. They naturally understood what Gang Mu and Yichong meant. At this time, Miao Ling sneered and said, Why are you talking nonsense with them? Just kill them. As for whether they submit or not, it's all bullshit. Chapter 2454. The other 7 were clear about Miao Ling's intentions. Things were already like this. Longao and Yulong were obviously at a disadvantage. Since that was the case, why did the 8 of them have to be like this? Why did they have to make a bet? The 8's faces turned gloomy and murderous. Kill. Once the word kill was spoken, the 8 of them rushed towards Longao and Yulong crazily. Their speed soared to the extreme, as fast as they could. Brother Yulong, let's go. Before Yulong could react, the 2 of them had already disappeared without a trace. Seeing the 2 people in front of them suddenly disappear without a trace, the 8 people were completely dumbfounded. That was because no one could figure out what was going on. Why would the 2 people suddenly disappear without a trace? How did Longao and Yulong do it? The 8 Pinnacle Universe Undyings looked at each other, seeing the disbelief in each other's eyes. It was unbelievable. It was simply inconceivable. If it was a half-step Starry Sky Ruler or Starry Sky Ruler, it wouldn't be a big deal. After all, with their strength, how could they sense a half-step Starry Sky Ruler or Starry Sky Ruler? But now, whether it was Longao or Yulong, they weren't the so-called Starry Sky Ruler or half-step Starry Sky Ruler. How could they disappear right under their noses? The 8 didn't hesitate and immediately started to lock on, hoping to locate the 2 as soon as possible. But the result? After locking on for a while, the 8 still couldn't locate the 2. How did Longao and Yulong do it? Are you able to lock onto their positions? Everyone shook their heads. As for Miao Ling, she was even more depressed. She said helplessly, I've just set up a formation. Even if it's a cultivator of the same level, they won't be able to escape from my formation. As for the 2, Miao Ling didn't continue, but the meaning in her words was clear. Everyone's face turned gloomier. The 8 of them couldn't locate the 2 even after locking on for a while. Tell me, how did the 2 of them do it? Gang Mu said coldly, It shouldn't be Yulong, but Longao. According to my guess, the reason why the 2 of them could disappear instantly is because they have a Starry Sky God weapon. Starry Sky Divine Tool? What kind of Starry Sky Spirit artifact was so powerful that it could avoid the lock-on of the 8 of them? It would be a lie to say that he wasn't tempted. If he could obtain such a Starry Sky Divine artifact, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. What should we do now? Although we can't pinpoint the location of Longao and Yulong, I'm sure they're still here. Everyone nodded in agreement. It was precisely because of this that the 8 of them did not leave. Instead, they guarded the 8 positions and continued to lock onto the 2's position. Within the Primal Chaos Palace. When Longao and Yulong successfully entered the Primal Chaos Palace, Longao finally heaved a sigh of relief. He was not worried at all because he was completely confident that the 8 of them would not be able to enter the Primal Chaos Palace. Nothing happened? Yulong was very surprised because he never thought that the Starry Sky Divine artifact Longao brought him in could avoid the lock-on of the 8 of them. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, he would have found it hard to believe. Yulong did not ask too much. He knew very well that if Longao was willing to tell him, he would not need to ask too much. He believed that Yulong would definitely tell him. If Longao was unwilling to tell him, even if he asked, it would be pointless. Longao would definitely not tell him. How could Longao not know what Yulong meant? Brother Yulong, this is a Starry Sky Divine artifact that I accidentally obtained back then, not to mention a peak Starry Sky Immortal. Even a half-step Starry Sky Ruler would not be able to lock onto our position. If it were someone else, Yulong would definitely not choose to believe it. However, he did not doubt Longao's words at all. If that was the case, Longao's Starry Sky Divine artifact was too heaven-defying. Not only could it avoid the lock-on of a peak Starry Sky Immortal, but it could also avoid the lock-on of a half-step Starry Sky Ruler. Brother Long, we can't go on like this. If nothing unexpected happens, the 8 of them will definitely not give up. They will be waiting for us outside. There was no doubt about it. How could Longao not know about this? This was also the most depressing thing for him because he could clearly sense that there were 8 powerful auras outside, constantly locking onto their position. Although the 2 of them could use the Primal Chaos Palace to temporarily avoid the lock-on of the 8 of them, they could not go on like this. The 2 of them could not hide here forever. What should they do? Thinking back and forth, Longao could not think of a good way to deal with the 8 of them for a while. If it was only Gang Mu and Yichong, then things would be easy. At least he could use the formation to kill the 2 of them. However, now it was not just 2, but 8 of them. 8 peak starry sky immortals joining forces. Even if he used the formation, he would definitely not be a match for the 8 of them. Not only that, among the 8 peak starry sky immortals, there was also a powerful formation master whose formation realm was the same as his. In this way, if the 2 of them fought head-on, not to mention killing the 8 of them, they might not even be able to survive. Looking at Longao's expression, Yulong already knew what was going on. His complexion was also very unsightly, but after thinking for a while, he still said, "Brother Long, you don't have to worry about this." Although the 8 of them didn't leave and have been locking our position, I can be sure that they won't stay for too long. Brother Yulong, of course I know this. However, it will not be easy to kill the 8 of them. If you cut the weeds without removing the roots, they will grow again when the spring breeze blows. Cut the weeds and remove the roots to prevent future troubles. Under such circumstances, Yulong did not have a good solution. He wanted to say something, but in the end, he endured it. The 2 of them sat quietly, waiting for the 8 of them to leave. As for how to deal with the 8 of them in the future, that was a matter for the future. They would take one step at a time. Outside the Primal Chaos Palace, Gang Mu and Yichong did not leave. The 8 of them were guarding their positions, not daring to be the slightest bit careless. They had been locking onto the 2's position. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed quietly. However, the 8 of them still had not found anything. They could not lock onto Longao and Yulong's position at all. The more it was so, the more the 8 of them were shocked and puzzled. The Starry Sky God tool in Longao's hand was too heaven-defying. The 8 of them were incomparably greedy. They could not wait to get Longao's Starry Sky God tool. If they could really get it, wouldn't it mean that they would be invincible under the half-step Starry Sky Ruler realm? Brother Yulong, please stand guard outside the cave. Don't let anyone disturb me. That's not a problem. You have to be careful. Although Yulong didn't know what Longao wanted to do, he didn't ask. He immediately left the cave and sat quietly outside, guarding the cave. Inside the cave, Longao's face was very solemn. He didn't have the slightest confidence in pinpointing the source of power. However, no matter what happened, he had to find the source of power. After breaking through to the Starry Sky Legend realm, he could deal with Starry Sky Immortal Realm experts. However, once he faced a peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm expert, he would be completely dumbfounded and helpless. He couldn't even use formations. The only way was to break through to the Starry Sky Legend realm as soon as possible. Once his cultivation reached the Starry Sky Immortal Realm, he would be able to deal with peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm experts. Longao even had full confidence that if his cultivation could break through to the Starry Sky Immortal Realm, it wouldn't be difficult for him to kill peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm experts, let alone contend against them. Because of this, Longao couldn't wait to pinpoint the location of the source of power. However, this mysterious plane was too strange. It was a fusion of countless planes. If he wanted to pinpoint the location of the source of power, he first had to pinpoint which plane the source of power was on. This was the most important thing. How could he pinpoint the plane? This was the biggest difficulty. Longao had thought of countless methods, but he couldn't pinpoint the plane layer by layer. Even if he was a Starry Sky Legend Realm expert, he believed that he would be exhausted to death. It was still the same sentence. If he was lucky, he could pinpoint the source of power in the shortest time possible. If he was unlucky, no one knew when he would be able to pinpoint the source of power. The more he thought about it, the more troublesome and depressing it became. However, no matter how troublesome and depressing it was, Longao knew that he still had to do it. Without any other choice, Longao could only continue to operate the 9-revolution chaos formula in his body. At this time, only the 9-revolution chaos formula could help him. However, the 9-revolution chaos formula and the mysterious power were very incompatible. As long as he operated the 9-revolution chaos formula, He would feel waves of unbearable pain in his head. He might even faint. Under normal circumstances, Longao's cultivation had smoothly broken through to the starry sky legend realm. It was almost impossible for him to faint. However, this impossible thing happened at this time. As soon as Longao operated the 9-revolution chaos formula in his body, he felt waves of pain in his head. It was a splitting headache, as if someone was cutting his head with a knife. Even Longao couldn't bear it. Clenching his teeth, Longao persisted because he knew very well in his heart that if he chose to give up at this time, then there was no doubt that all his previous efforts would be in vain. Every time he came here, who knew when it would end? Longao gritted his teeth and persevered. But even so, according to Longao's guess, he could only hold on for a few minutes at most. He could hold on for dozens of minutes. It was really unknown whether he could pinpoint the location of the source of power in dozens of minutes. If he couldn't pinpoint it, then it seemed that his luck wasn't good enough. A painful scream was heard. Yulong, who was guarding outside the cave, looked very worried. However, he didn't step into the cave. Before coming out, Longao had repeatedly told him that no matter what happened in the cave, he couldn't step in without Longao's call. Otherwise, he was afraid that everything would be in vain. Of course, Yulong knew what was going on inside. As long as Longao operated the mysterious technique, he would feel a splitting headache. It was very strange. Until now, he didn't know what was going on. Longao didn't say anything, and Yulong didn't ask much. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.